Hey, happy Monday, aeromodelers, fellow aeromodelers. Hope y'all are doing good today. Hope somebody shows up. I think about half of the control line world is in the Nats in Muncie, and the other half is in or on the way to France, as are Steve and Samantha. Steve being one of our regular visitors here. So we wish them uh, safe, happy travels and good flying when they get there. So, y'all are welcome to hang out with me tonight, and I'll be here for the next couple of hours, probably till 12 o'clock, 12:30, depends on how the conversation's going. The YouTube chat box is up as usual. You're welcome to participate there if you don't have or don't care to use a microphone and a camera, and you can remain a little more anonymous over there. Anybody that goes to the YouTube watch page, which is available from the forum where you go to get the live video link. You can also go to the watch page to access the chat box. And you can do that by opening the video and the embedded video in that post in the streaming videos at the bench thread, and click the YouTube logo in the bottom right of that video, and it'll take you to the YouTube watch page where the chat box is. If you were using the chat box, then we've got the super chat you can click on, the little dollar sign at the bottom, to help give Sparky a little walking around change to cover the server fees, which he's also been running a drive on the forums for that this week. And it's time to pay for that again. And that helps keep the show that we're doing here both on the air and free. So, I appreciate it if y'all do that. And if you don't care to, that's fine. Doesn't matter. You're still welcome. And if you can't, then we appreciate that too. A lot of people can't, but just contribute to the control line world, and that's all we ask. And have fun. So that's what we're going to do. Looks like we got a couple of viewers on YouTube so far, and somebody's popping in already.
Hey, good evening, Rusty.
The man that used to never show up. It's Ron Hass. How you doing tonight, Ronnie?
I'm doing okay. How you doing?
I'm pretty good.
Good.
Appreciate you dropping in, and just you can help me get in the groove here. We got 3 viewers on the tube, and you and me on the live side. So anyway,
Up for a little bit.
It's Monday again. Always seems like a long way to Friday, but then when Friday pops up, it comes quick. I kind of don't know whether to be happy that it comes quick or sad that the weeks are passing so fast. So, yeah, 2 sides to every coin.
That's true. Well, you get busy on the weekends and then not so busy during the week.
Yeah. Yeah, Monday always shows up in a hurry too. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I had club meetings Saturday and managed to get a little RC flying in Sunday, so not a bad weekend.
So what kind of RC planes did you fly?
I got a little electric ugly stick.
Yeah.
Oh, it is
the most
a
popular RC plane there is, isn't it?
It's a retro airplane. Hang on, I'll show it to you.
Okay. Waiting for Ron to come back with his ugly stick. That ding was me trying to eject my hard drive or my backup drive. But anyway,
I know it's not control line, but it's fun.
No doubt. Let's see. Let me click on you so the tubers can see it full screen. All right. So that looks like a OS, 35, something like that.
It's a fake.
Oh.
It's electric.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
It's a retro engine, and I just absolutely love it. And I've had so many guys at the club, hey, something's wrong with your engine. You got no compression.
Yeah, tell them it's got a Dykes ring in it. Just feels like that.
Suckers them in every time. I
Is it
saw
is
this
it
thing at
plastic?
swap meet for $30 and I couldn't resist it.
Is it plastic?
It's foam. All foam.
What about
Actually
the
goes
engine?
down in the bottom.
Did you engineer the engine to put an electric motor in it, or
No, it's made that way.
is it? That's
Durafly was the company that made that thing for about 3 years, and they ceased production on it. But it's just so cute, I couldn't resist it.
Is the engine a replica of anything in particular?
Generic.
Right off the bat, I looked at it and said, OS 2535.
Looks like an OS 25 size,
Yeah, they all look about alike anyway. I mean, how
Yep.
different can you look? Unless you got a red or a green head or something like that.
So many guys will come over and grab the prop and they want to feel the compression on it, and that's what gets them. And I just laugh every time it happens.
That's funny. You got me,
It's
but
fun.
I played video. I couldn't tell over the video. But anyways, well, I got out to the shop this weekend. Actually, my wish came through, and the weather was nice. There was it was only about, I guess, probably 90 degrees, as hot as it got, and there was a decent mild breeze blowing. So I aired the shop out, which it needs it bad. It's been, sitting all winter mostly untouched, and it's been kind of mildewy in there. And I hate that all of my wood's being exposed like that, but it doesn't seem to. I don't see anything that is any damage. So maybe the worry was all for naught. But I was able to start putting things. Well, first I had to put the beach stuff back where it belonged. I had fishing rods leaning on my airplane shelves and tackle boxes and tools divided between. So, got all that back together, and then started just straightening up a little so I could move around comfortably and everything get back where it belongs. And so I can see light at the end of the tunnel now. And I've got my actually I bought 2, 4, 6, either 6 or 8 24 by 24 squares of sheetrock that I'm going to put on top of my glass, clean the glass up, get it back on the table, shim it, level it, and put that sheetrock on it, and I can finally maybe start locomoting again, getting that wing built for the
I've
Cardinal.
got a little step stool that's about 2 foot high, and I got a 16 inch by 4 foot piece of sheetrock,
Mm-hmm.
and I got a 1/4 inch. No, it's 3/8 ceiling tile on top of that.
Yeah.
And I can level the thing out. And that's what I build my wings on.
Yeah, that ceiling tile's easy to stick pins in, and
it wears out fast, but so what?
Yeah, the sheetrock is tough to put pins in sometimes, and I'm always scared that the metal shank is going to push through the plastic ball on top and go into my thumb, which it hasn't ever actually done that, but I'm always got that in the back of my mind when I'm pushing so hard. And I buy different thicknesses and lengths of sewing pins rather than buying the.
I use T-pins. I use T-pins for almost all the things I'm sticking down.
Yeah. I'd just get the sewing pins because, I think you can get T-pins at Walmart too. I don't know if it's in the sewing section or the craft section, but I've always opted for the sewing pins. I've got some T-pins, but I don't know. I never grew to love them. I know some people work with them.
Yeah, I've got them in 2 sizes. There's a fairly heavy duty one and then a normal pin size one.
Yeah.
And that, if you get some hard balls you're going through, you can use the heavy one.
Yeah.
And, you're doing ribs or something like that, then the light one doesn't break the ribs.
Yeah, it's thinner too, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a little shorter and a little thinner.
Yeah.
That works out well.
now I've got to figure out how to jig this wing up. I've never built this type of wing before. It's a sheeted lead edge. I've always built the ones that had, well, either a half round or square stick along the lead edge, but never built one that was just sheeting. So that's going to slow me down a little bit. Anytime I do something new, it slows me down a little. And, you know, I honestly have not built that many models. A lot of these guys we talk to have built so many models that nothing really is that new to them. You know, whether you're molding lead edges or whatever. But for me, it's a big adventure.
Well, I haven't done the full molded leading edge. I have done where you've got the quarter square spar on the front leading edge.
Yeah.
And then you wrap your balsa onto that, trim it off, and bring the bottom up, and then sand it down. That's my normal construction.
I don't have my instruction book in here, but I don't think there's a stick on the lead edge of the Cardinal.
If it's got the full molded leading edge, no.
Yeah. Well, that'll be one of the first things to look at anyway. But my method of jigging varies from wing to wing, just depending on what it takes to block it up. But it's always about the same. I usually have some 2-inch square balsa lumber that I chop up into 1-inch slices and use that for my angles to build a jig out of, and that works well for me for both if you want to put the profile fuselage on the table or for the wing. So,
I got a whole box of things just like that for jigging stuff up.
Yeah.
You have to do it. The only way to build something straight.
One of my buddies over on Cox Engine Forum gave me a wing jig, and you know, with metal rods and adjustable wing nuts on each side, and I put it on the shelf and never used it much. But oh, and who we got here? We got a new visitor. Hey, who we got here?
It's me.
Oh, it's you. I didn't. Oh, you look neat tonight, Sparky. I didn't recognize you with your orange shirt on.
Holy moly, neither did I.
Okay, your name does. Okay, yep, your name is Stunt. How are you tonight? I watched some of your videos today.
So did I.
I just posted appearance judging about a 6-minute clip. It's not great. The camera work is terrible. The lighting is awful.
Yeah, I could see that it was uploading.
Oh, it's there now.
Yeah. Okay, good.
We're in the motel room, just kicking back. I'm getting ready to go to bed, so I'm not gonna stay on. John's over there in the corner. Say hi, John.
Hey, John.
Hello, everybody.
Chilling out, eh?
Relax.
It's been a long time day.
I also was able to watch your Brodak Junkyard Wars today. It was the first time I'd taken a look at that, but I did watch all of the videos you put up from Muncie as of lunchtime and early afternoon, and I gave you a thumbs up on all of those. Those were all good.
That'll look appreciated, but that'll be overcome by the dildo giving me the thumbs down.
No doubt. But that was with your cell phone, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Have you gotten the big stuff out yet?
Have I gotten what?
Your camera with the self balancing gimbal system and all that stuff.
I haven't got that out, but if you look, I did shoot a video of Jim Lee Machine with my recorder and my Nikon.
I saw that one.
Yeah, I watched Jim Lee's little tour of his tent there, so that was pretty good. Now Jim's pretty good with a microphone in his hand. You might have to give him a job.
You forget how much stuff he actually has.
Yeah.
You got a bunch.
People always ask who can make me a Venturi for this or that, and I hear all kinds of names, but I always forget them. But so I can always tell them Jim Lee, because I believe he can make one for just about anything.
Well, anyway, guys, I'm off to bed. I just want to drop in, say hello.
Okay, Mark, you okay?
Take care, Sparky.
Y'all have a good time.
All right, we're working on the video. I don't know. I'm kind of burnt out on shooting video, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I bet. Okay, man. Well, y'all take care and have a good time.
All right, buddy.
All right, goodbye.
Bye now.
All right.
Nice of him to stop by.
Cameo by the head office.
I didn't recognize him when he first came on.
I didn't either. Like, who the hell is that? Was he? I don't know what it was. Just didn't. I couldn't make out who it was. I couldn't get the name to pop up. You know, yours says Ron, mine says you, but I couldn't get his to say anything. And then
orange shirt, and he looks like he trimmed his beard.
yeah. He cleans up pretty good, doesn't he?
Yeah, not bad.
Looks like we got about 7 YouTube viewers now, so maybe everybody isn't in either Muncie or on the way to France. I guess Steve and Samantha are on the way right now, aren't they?
Yeah, I think he said that they were leaving today and they'd be there sometime in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Our time.
He's probably going to eat a cigarette when he gets off the plane.
Well, I sure wish them luck. I think that's great that he managed to get her over there.
Yeah, this is a chance of a lifetime.
Oh, I was telling my daughter about it. She just went wild when she heard it.
That's pretty cool. Now, how old is your daughter? She's she's married with children, I suppose.
That's the gal that used to go to all the contests. We didn't want to fly, control line or radio or anything, but she loves to go to the flying fields.
Yeah.
So, you know, she goes every time she comes into town. She lives in Raleigh. I live in Tampa. And every time she comes into town, I've got to take her out to the club field so she can act with the guys and watch us fly.
Oh, that's cool. Unusual as cool, well as cool. How you doing, Jeff?
If she wasn't a blood relative, I'd marry her.
How you doing tonight, Gerald?
Oh, good. The boys are on holiday. My wife's at home for a week, so it's hard to get computer time. So I seem to miss out on looking at all of Sparky's new videos. So I saw he was just on there before, but I was still trying to get on. And
yeah, he put some short ones up tonight, and the appearance judging one just finished uploading a few minutes ago. I saw it in progress when I was starting up the show, and so I'll have to get back and finish those. And I finally got around to watching Junkyard Wars from Brodak. That's pretty good. I love the Florida Sharknadoes.
Yeah, costume.
But I've only watched about 2/3 of it. I got to go back and finish it later on.
Yeah, there's a lot to look at right now with all the stuff from Brodak and now the Nats. It's there's a feast of stuff that Sparky's put up. I was
worried we weren't going to get any viewers in here tonight because half the control line world's in Muncie and the other half's either on the way or in France. So
that's a big event for them. So I suppose we'll have a lot of talk about it when they get back. But quite excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear all about it. But that's a 2-week-long event, right?
Yeah, from what I understand. Very yeah. Well, hopefully we'll hear some news from Steve, maybe on his Facebook page or something while he's away.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just been struggling trying to get some computer time. Everybody, when the boys are on holiday, it's hard to get the computer off them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, here's Charles.
Hi, everybody.
Howdy.
Howdy.
How are you keeping, Charles?
I'm doing good. I did a little flying today, but I took out a fuel mixture I had conjured up and didn't work very well.
Yeah. What was a new blend or something? What you do?
I added a little caster to my all synthetic mix, just a little bit. I thought I added 1 or 2% caster. I thought I'd do that, and my engine did not like that.
Which engine?
The Stalker. Yeah. So I was talking to a gentleman at a contest. some time ago, and he thought that it wouldn't hurt to put 1 or 2% castor in the mix,
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I'd try that, and the motor did not like it.
What What did change about the motor operation?
It actually started getting hot and it was slowing down.
That's the last thing I would have guessed is getting hot.
Yeah, it's just the thick viscosity of the
Yeah.
castor. Synthetic oil is less
Less viscous, yeah.
viscous, and it's thinner and easier, I
But
guess.
gas is
Slippery.
famous for carrying heat out, but I guess it doesn't flow as well. So, yeah. But
Yeah.
because getting hot and slowing down says to me that it was seizing a little. When you get a lean run, it'll seize a little and kind of sag.
Yeah, I was hoping I was hoping to not damage the motor, but when you put that full tank of gas in there,
You
you
commit,
gotta just wait till it runs out of fuel,
yeah. You just
What's
ran
the
one
caster?
tank.
Sorry, Charles, what sort of caster was it? Was it medicinal caster or was it
This particular caster, I believe, was by Cool Power. Cool Power, they sell castor and synthetic oil standalone, without any methanol or nitro or anything, just straight oil. And I have both of those products in my garage. I have synthetic oil from Cool Power, or Morgan Fuel is the right name.
Yeah, right.
And then I have synthetic from Morgan Fuels.
Yeah, they sell the components to mix your own fuel.
Yeah, so
caster does vary a bit between the type of caster you're using. Like I've used the Benol caster and I didn't have a lot of success with that. And the whether it's first pressing or some of them are solvent extracted caster, they have a different performance. Just my own personal experience, I've found a difference between the different types of caster. Some of them have an anti-clogging agent added to them as well, where they're designed to be used in motorcycles. It doesn't clog the injector if they're injecting it into it. So it could be the type of caster you're using doesn't agree, but it seems unusual that smaller percentage of caster. If you hadn't dropped your total oil percentage, I would have thought it would run cooler, not hotter. But maybe the stalker didn't like it. Some of the Eastern Bloc engines I know aren't designed to run with caster. They're designed to run totally on synthetic. And I think it's the Cinco motors, they say don't run caster at all.
yeah, I just thought that little percent wouldn't make a difference, but it did. It didn't like it at all. And, it was a learning experience. I wish I would have brought out more fuel, because I had a really nice day today. It was probably, I know it was less than 90 degrees, which is cool for us lately.
Yeah.
And it was overcast. So, whenever you have a cooler day and it's overcast, you want to fly the seat out of your plane. Hey, what's up, James?
Hey, Jamie. Yeah, cool and overcast.
Yeah, when you have an overcast day and it's a little bit cooler, you want to.
That's some kind of like.
I didn't even need sunglasses today.
I don't think Jamie knows he's on or something.
Yeah, I don't think he knows either with that headset on.
Yeah. Oh, I muted it. Oh, yeah. There we go.
All right, thank you.
Yeah,
That's better.
I had to open up a control panel because I couldn't manually mute him with the little thumbnail. But yeah, we'll get dinged for copyright infringement. I don't think he realizes he's on the show or something.
Yeah, I don't think so. I guess he's not even talking. Normally, you would say hello or.
Yeah.
A wave or something, nothing.
Yeah.
You might have clicked the wrong button, because if it comes up as a pop-up, you might have clicked on it and it's opened us up.
Well, maybe he'll figure it out a little later on. That's kind of funny. Oh, well, we can watch him. I hope he doesn't get up to no good while he doesn't know anybody's looking.
Yeah.
So Charles, I might have missed it. How much fuel did you say you mixed up?
Oh, I mixed up a gallon, and the ratio was 0 nitro, and it was like 18% synthetic and 2% castor.
That's FAI fuel, 80-20.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The stalker does not like nitro either.
Yeah, unusual. Yeah.
So now I got to add to the list. I mean, I always thought he didn't like synthetic, but another person that told me, yeah, you should try adding 1 or 2%. It won't hurt it, And I tried it, so now I know. Well, no, that's not a good thing. At least not for this particular motor. So it was a learning lesson.
I normally take my chili bin along with like 3 different brews of fuel for the different motors. I'll take a half-A fuel with me, either a diesel fuel or a higher nitro fuel. If I'm running a 4-stroke, then I'll bring along a no caster blend as well. But yeah, the chili bin I can normally.
That's something else I probably will do in the future. Make sure I bring out more than 1 fuel. That was another painful lesson because I flew, but I would have had more fun if I would have brought some different fuel. Because like I said, it was a good day. Good day to put some holes in the sky.
Yeah, those cool overcast days are stunt heaven if you've got just a 4 or 5 mile an hour breeze blowing straight down the field, or right, and just without coming through trees or something. That's just beautiful flying weather.
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely shot my foot today.
I normally bring different fuels and spare batteries because there's always somebody whose battery goes flat. You end up borrowing them a spare battery.
Yeah, I was by myself, and I brought out 2 batteries, but then I have no, I don't have it. But normally I have a 3rd backup, but I only had 2 batteries. But they were fine. Everything was good. It was just one of those unfortunate flying days. I'll get them next time.
You by yourself? Anybody else out there with you?
By myself.
Yeah. Let me see if Jimmy's still
Which
making.
is what I wanted. I actually was looking forward to trying some things, and when I fly by myself, I can just right after one flight after another, I can try something, see if I like it. Don't go back or what have you, make changes. But when I'm flying in a rotation of 3 or 4 or 5 guys, it's not really conducive to trying out things. So I didn't advertise that I was going to be out there today, so I actually wanted to fly by myself.
Jamie's going to screen share some pictures of his twister.
Oh, yeah, it looked really good. There's progress on it.
Who is?
Well,
I didn't quite understand you. I didn't understand, Rusty. Who's going to screen share?
Jamie is going to
Jamie.
pictures of his twister. Yeah, he's in a hotel room. I think with other people or something, and so he is not doing audio right now. I told him to let me know if he wants me to unmute his mic if he can't do it himself. There's a picture of me he just shared.
See here, I clicked on James. The black screens where I have.
Yeah, it is now for me too. Here you go. There's the twister.
All right.
I've seen the big pictures of it on Stunthangar, and it looks like he's done a really neat job of work on it. These are.
I like that rudder. That's different.
It is different. Yeah, it's big and tall. We'll see how he likes that when he flies it in the wind.
Yeah, he might be susceptible to weather vaning with that big rudder.
Maybe. On takeoffs too, you might have to consider it. He could keep the same shape if he needs to trim it down a little bit, just shorten it a little. But it's not unsightly.
I like it. Things in that area around the flex.
Guys, screen sharing. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Looks good.
Oh, there's me again. There's Jamie.
There's Jamie.
All right, Jamie.
Hey, thanks, Jamie.
I got a couple of pictures that I screen captured off of Sparky's Brodak Junkyard Wars video of the Sharknadoes. If y'all watch that and seen these guys with
Yeah,
the
I saw that.
on and the shark t-shirts,
Yeah.
they're a
That's
funny looking bunch of guys. By funny looking, I mean in an entertaining sort of funny way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked a lot of fun. The two boys thought it was terrific. Some of the ideas with the balloon bursting and stuff.
I've never flown a balloon bust before, and that looked worth trying. I've always wanted to, but never have. I was amazed that she must have hit the balloon with the wheel the first time, and it didn't pop it, and she kept on going, and 2 laps later popped it, but it brought the plane down too. Either she hit the stick or it got wrapped up in the prop. I'm saying she. I think it was a girl that was flying. The first one was Samantha Hines, but she ran out of gas before she had a good go at it.
Anybody here if they got off all right or if they left already?
We can only assume so. Jamie says horizontal stabs now glued, an 1/8" brass tube in the elevator and flaps for support of the flap horn. Yeah, I usually run mine through a brass tube like that too. And hinges came out better than you expected. Hope to be ready to cover it and paint by next weekend. Cool. Well, it's good so far.
Whether it's stock, cut down, but reshaped. To make it more like a fenturized twister.
I don't know. Whatever floats your boat.
Yeah, they're a good kit in that you can change them into so many different things. I was looking at the post that he had on Stunthangar before, and all the different versions of Twister that come. Quite neat. Quite exciting to think you can do so much with this basic kit. They're a cheap, affordable kit, and everybody can interpret them their way.
Yeah. Yeah, I love my version. I've seen other people's with almost, the same thing, but there's some subtle variations on it. And then the original SIG Twister straight out of the box is a lot different look with, especially with the canopy and the rudder. But they always got that blunt wing. You can always, the wings are always the same on the outside. And on the inside, they mayor. Like Jamie's got shear webs. I don't have shear webs except in the trail edge, but I do have the half ribs, and so whatever you choose to do.
I had a tips to my one when I turned mine into a semi-scale model. I just put like a flat plate of 1/4" sheet, and then put foam top and bottom, and then covered over it with tissue with white glue, and gave mine some tips. But the other one I did was the Banshee, and I reworked that as the Vought Vindicator. It's sort of hanging on my wall, but they're just so adaptable. You lengthen the tail moment, and you can put a much bigger motor on it too, and that's another great virtue of it, that they're so easy to change, being a profile. And then I've got that other twister down on the floor, the one that one of the other guys in our club built a few years ago, and his is so different to fly to mine. It's amazing. They're like completely different models, yet underneath it they're the same thing. Just the way you tweak them and twist them around to what you want.
I like kit bashing. I did that with my Skyray that I built to intermediate with, and I'd always wanted a full size flight streak, but I'd only had babies, and so I kit bashed that Skyray into a flight streak. And if you look close, you can tell if you're really familiar with both planes, because it's got a lot longer tail moment between the hinge lines of the trail edge of the wing and the stabilizer. So it's something you can look at it and say that's a flight streak, but there's something funny about it. But I did the best I could to shape it just like a flight streak.
Yeah, I suppose ringmasters are similar. Like the flight streak, everybody has their version of a ringmaster these days.
Oh yeah, there's probably more variations on a ringmaster than anything else. There might be more ringmasters than anything else.
Yeah, that's what they on the ringmaster website for the ringmasterathon. They say it's the most built kit ever, and I could believe it with how many entrants they have at the ringmasterathon each October.
Yeah.
Huge number of flyers.
Oh, I've got that little micro ringmaster that's about that long, so that's the one that Dan Banjock flew off the wing of the big ringmaster. It's like a super big ringmaster, using the wing on the big one as a runway for the little one to take off from.
Oh, sounds nice.
Chop the fabric up, and do a nose over and chop the wing up, but it worked.
Yeah, I've got the boys both working on a ringmaster each, try and get them ready for the ringmasterathon. And Max was in here last night and he was cutting up ribs with me. I think his ribs are lying around here somewhere. But yeah, he's quite keen to get building. Otto's a bit distracted right now that he's on holiday. He's doing all the stuff that he wants to do. But they both flew on Sunday and we had a really good flying session. The weather's not great. It was really windy, so they mainly flew a combat model of mine. And they were carving up the sky with that, and other flyers were quite impressed by their skills. But I think the combat model just makes you look more skillful in a way. If you can throw it all over the sky with reckless abandon, it makes you look more skilled than what you are.
Yeah, I mean, when you zing a fast plane around in the air, anything you do to save it looks like an expert in maneuver.
Yeah. That was it. Otto was really good. He actually did many a save. It was a windy day and he kept pulling it from near death. And eventually Max came along and decided he wanted to try a whole lot of stunts upwind, and I was just too slow trying to persuade him not to or save the plane, and it cartwheeled across the field, and I couldn't find part of the leading edge. It had been embedded in the ground so deep that we couldn't see it.
Wow.
With those, you don't have a lot of time to do much thinking.
That upwind stunt idea is probably one that he won't try again, I guess.
I hope not. I hate having to rebuild everything for the next weekend, so it puts me back in terms of my own building program. And now ringmasters, when you're repairing old models.
James Holford just joined this video call, according to the little indicator. Don't know what's going on there, but Jamie says he's got a Skywraith 35 this past week. It's going to be a fun build. Going to trace the ribs and try to build two at a time. Yeah, that's the recommended way if you're using it for a stunt trainer.
Yeah, that's what we did with the. I bought one ringmaster and I traced everything out, and then I thought I'd build three. The actual kit was incomplete, so I had to make up some of the parts. Some of the parts were already missing, like the wingtips and the canopy, and a few pieces were missing. All the fly pieces for the bell crank mount were missing. So I've made up parts using the old Yak 9 kit. A lot of the parts are similar in that, so I used I used the die cut parts for the bell crank mount as templates for the ringmaster. So I've basically got the original one back in a kit that we can use as a guide, and we're cutting out three from that. So hopefully we'll have three identical models at the end of it, and we'll just decorate them accordingly. And Max is already keen on decorating his before it's even built. He's got all these big ideas.
Is the Yak 9 and the Ringmaster wing similar thickness airfoil? Are they both thin? They're both thin airfoils, aren't they?
Both thin, but the Yak 9 is actually a little bit narrower. The airfoil different because of the flap. It's got the flap on it, so the wing area is similar, but the Yak 9 part of it's flat, whereas on the Ringmaster the ribs are all a little bit longer. They're about an inch longer on the Ringmaster. But a lot of the parts look the same. The leading edge and trailing edge all look very similar to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the wood quality on the originals wasn't that great. So at least by building a copy, you can select your wood a lot more carefully and change any construction that you don't like.
Kevin Muckleroy just came in YouTube, said hi everybody, not feeling too good tonight, so he's just going to hang out and listen for a while.
Oh, sorry to hear that, Kevin.
Yeah, get some rest. Hope you feel better.
Yeah, I spoke to a friend of mine who's a judge this year at the Nats, and he's having a blast. And he actually teamed up with Dennis Adamison, I guess, judging the intermediates, and so he's learning a whole bunch. What a great person to sit next or stand next to you, learning how to judge.
Yeah, that would be very informing. But whereabouts are your Nats held this year, anyway?
Muncie, Indiana.
Yeah, that's where lately that's where they've always been held,
Yeah,
but I don't know the history of it. Is it always?
That's going to be that's how it's going to be for here on out. I know back in the day they used to travel all over the nation. I've heard of Natses in Reno. I've heard of Natses in Texas, and there was a Nats in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Yes, I heard of that Nats before.
Yeah, I went to that one.
Oh, very cool. But I think now they're just stuck at the AMA headquarters.
Yep.
That's Indiana Central, though, isn't it, for most states? Am I right there, or I'm guessing?
Yeah, it's about as central as you can get.
Yeah, we've sort of done that largely with our nationals here in New Zealand. We tend to have them on the bottom of the North Island, and that way it suits most people coming from all around New Zealand. We're sort of spread out on a long, thin strip, but you can't please everybody. But for us, it's not too bad. If we can drive down in a day, it's nice.
Yeah, Muncie's around 1,000 miles from me, so it's a 2,000-mile round trip.
Yeah, it's probably about that far from me too.
Yeah, I don't know how many.
700 miles south of you. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, I guess that's right, isn't it? You're in Tampa, or you're in Tampa, right?
Tampa, right.
Yeah.
What's the weather like there at this time of year? Then is it very, very hot, or the pictures I've seen, it looks beautiful, but hard to tell how hot it is just looking at these beautiful clear skies that Rusty, where Sparky's shot those videos, and that looks very nice.
It does, yeah. I think the temperatures are a little cooler than they are down in the south where Ron and I are. I looked at the weather report for the entire week, and it looks like it's going to be in the 80s or low 90s in the daytime, and I didn't see any rain forecasts, so I think they're going to have a pretty good weather week.
Okay.
Depending on where they come from, you do hear people complaining about how hot it was standing out there on the pavement on the, I guess, the L pad. What is that? A big L-shaped paved area where they have two or three circles, and that it's pretty hot out there.
Yeah, I've seen the L pad, and I've also seen some grass circles. Seems like the grass circles are earmarked for the beginners and intermediate, I think. Which makes sense. You crash on grass if you can.
Tom Brent from Utah joined us. We hadn't seen Brent in a long time. He used to drop in once in a while from YouTube. I don't remember if he's ever come into the video show or not, but anyway, hi Brent. Thanks for dropping in on us.
Well, my friend Walter, he sent me a picture from the Nats. It's a one shot. I wish he had more. I think this is from the appearance judging, I believe. And let me screen share this with you guys. Let's see here. How do I get it back to? Let's see here. I'm lost for a second here. Oh, here we go. Google Hangout. Okay. Screen share. And where did I put that picture? There we go. Okay. And can you see that?
Oh, yeah, let me click on that.
That's the only picture I have from the Nats
Yeah.
so far.
What is that, finished concrete floor that they're on there?
You know, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I believe they hold the appearance judging at a church.
Oh,
Yeah.
Looks
Yeah,
like it's inside somewhere.
yeah.
a Texan. Oh,
I hope
that's,
I get more pictures. I don't know whose plane this is, but I do have one guess. My guess would be Richard Oliver.
yeah. What does it
Because
say on the side? It says jet something, doesn't it?
Jet something. I imagine, and I see Rojet near the front, and then the wing has Texan, which Richard Oliver is in Texas,
Yeah.
and it kind of looks like Richard Oliver's kind of flare, if you ask me.
Oh, they look nice. Both models.
But that's all I have from the Nats so far. I'm looking forward to all the live scoring and everything
Thanks
that
for
we
the
had
click.
last year.
Thanks for the click, Gerald. Jamie just gave us a greenie too.
All right.
Well, Bucky's certainly been busy, posting lots of stuff for us to watch, so we've got to be grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't.
Yeah. I hit the drive on Stunthangar with a few greenbacks. I
suppose anything like this, you can just see it all. It's nice to enjoy it, but somebody's got to pay for it. So.
Yeah, we're really lucky to have something like this. Actually, I can't think of how many things in this hobby that we are lucky to have, but so many contributors contribute in whatever way they can.
Yeah, it was like the post about Brodeck distribution. That people were saying, they've really helped save the hobby, but it's not just Brodeck, but as others pointed out, it's Sig and Eric Rule and other people that have, just some people that have put a lot into. Maybe not profitable to them, but they've really helped keep the hobby flourishing.
And Triple Tree, they would have never known any difference if they hadn't made control line available for us, but they did, and we trained hundreds of kids out there every week, every Joe Nall week.
Yeah, well, it's getting that exposure that's often hard to get as a control line entity. But if you can piggyback on another event like you say with Triple Tree, or go along to I suppose it's like going along to Oshkosh, as we've discussed before. It just giving you that profile. When we've had a chance to fly for organisations like they've got one here. It's like for Air Scouts. What do they call it? I'm struggling now. My brain's just forgot. My brain's got all soggy.
Yeah, my brain's been doing that lately too.
It'll come to me half an hour later. But
I thought it was something great to lead with on the show tonight, and it was so great. I thought it was so great I'd never forget it. And then for the show, I'm like, what was it I was going to say? It was so damn interesting. Funny.
Yes, that's true.
For National Model Airplane Day, my RC club is inviting some of the control line flyers from Palmetto up for the day so that they can put on a demonstration at my RC club. Maybe you'll get some control line flyers back in.
Oh, very good. That's always good.
Did that a couple years ago, and everybody was poo-pahing it, and oh, gee, they fly on wires. We got a
Yeah.
couple of good stunt flyers down there, and all of a sudden it was oohs and ahs.
That was my next question. Did y'all have anybody that could really show them?
Oh yeah,
Good.
there's the Smith brothers, not the well, two guys. They're brothers named Smith. They fly out of Palmetto, down around Sarasota.
Yeah.
And they've got a paved circle at their RC club that they fly off of. And I'm trying to get our guys to at least put a grass circle in at ours. Then maybe I can get back to flying.
Yeah. You know, it's just getting that other interest within clubs is quite neat. I years ago helped with something they called the mini air show, and that was raising money to try and buy a site that all Auckland flyers could use, because we didn't own a site of our own. We just relied upon council and farmers and other people to run our contests and events and churches and schools and whatnot, and we wanted to see if we could buy a site, but it's just land's become too expensive. But we raised a lot of money through the mini air show, and part of it was putting on control line displays, and I organised the control line side of it, and we put on stunt displays and mock combat displays, and it was a lot of fun, but it was just too hard. We were performing right in the centre of the city, and it was very hard to coordinate something like that. It sort of fizzled after a few years. But the other thing I was talking about before, I was trying to think, was ATC, the Air Training Corps. I put on a display for them one time, and that was really satisfying, because you've got a group of young guys all keen on flying, and you've got a target audience there in front of you. But it's not often that you connect with the right people are actually interested in flying. And that's where, I suppose, if you're a general radio control meet, or it helps a lot. Or if there's an aviation meeting, like some of the minor airfields, they'll put on a special club day and try and get the public along to attract them into full-size aviation. But often they'll put on a display of model planes too. We've had that a few times. Participated in some of the little events like that, which are quite neat. And then we've got a Model-X, a model display, general modelling display in Henderson Town Centre right now. And we used to, as a club, we'd put on a display each year. We hope to get all these new members out of it. I don't think we got one member out of our years of putting on a display at Model-X each year. But a lot of other clubs tried the same thing, and I think most of them concluded at the end that it wasn't the right audience. We weren't appealing to aeromodelers, we were appealing to the wrong people there. They were mainly into their trains and die-cast and collectors and stuff. They weren't really aeromodelers there. So we had a mismatch. It was fun doing it, though. I enjoyed looking at all the other modelling aspects of modelling, where the model trains or those that collected. And yeah, the plastic modelling and all, it was always fun participating.
Model trains are always really interesting, fascinating to look at, especially in the ones that go into so much detail and scale. But I have never felt like I was being welcomed and received well when I'd go into a train shop, you know, and if I was looking for something and couldn't find it anywhere else, and I went in looking for something for an airplane, you know, nobody was interested in introducing me to something I'd never seen before or anything like that. And I don't feel like the aeromodeling community has got that same kind of an attitude. So I apologize to any train people that are watching us. No offense intended, but this has just been my personal observation.
Yeah, it's so different, I suppose. It's one of the aspects. You don't see a lot of people that cross over between model planes or trains into or model boats. They tend to be one or the other. But it is interesting to look at those other interests and see what they're doing. One of the main shops I frequent for modelling supplies is actually an RC car shop. But because there are so few model plane shops where we live, he just gets the stuff in that I ask for. And that's very good of him doing it. Speedy models. But yeah, we used to have a wealth of aeromodelling shops around here, but that's something I think is a worldwide phenomenon. We've seen a fall off in the aeromodelling specific shops. You get those that are a crossover. I remember there were a couple of shops in New Zealand here that they combined other interests as well. They might have cameras or photography stuff along with model planes to make it more profitable.
If you're trying to make a living you've got no choice but to cross over and, you know, diversify, as they say.
Yeah. There was one shop that was always amusing going into as a kid. It was called the Toy and Doll Hospital, and there's all beautiful dolls all decorating it, but it had a little section for model planes, and it was quite funny going in there. You sort of feel like everybody's looking at you going in as a boy, going into this Toy and Doll Hospital.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that took some courage.
it was neat. It was run by a couple of old ladies, and they obviously had a great passion for what they did, but when they got too old, the shop went with them. But yeah, it's been like that for a lot of the different shops. The proprietor has got such a passion for it. They keep it going as long as their health will enable it, but ultimately they can't go if somebody else can't take over from them. We had a really neat shop called Heritage Models in Glen Eden, and the character that ran that was really neat. But it was ill health in the end that meant he had to close it down. We used to go out there on a Friday night, and when me and my wife were courting, we'd go out there and visit his shop in the evening and have a dinner out in Glen Eden. It was quite neat as an occasion because he was open on Friday night late. But things like that, they're embedded in your memory. Those shops that you enjoyed frequenting, especially when you were young, it remains with you for life. I think those nice memories.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember our local model shops here in Columbia, because Columbia is a big enough town to where, you know, it had probably, you know, 2 or 3 hobby shops, full-on hobby shops, and there's still one within 60 miles of me on the way to Huntersville called the Hobby Stop that is packed. It's a big place too, packed from wall to wall with aeromodeling supplies, and I don't think he crosses over too much to trains and other hobbies, but he still has all of the hardware you need for control line and RC, and knows what every little part's for and which one has differences, and can actually talk to you and help you choose what you might need. So that's a rarity these days too. Anybody that either cares to tell you about it or can tell you about it.
We've got one in Orlando that I go to. It's 60-mile trip for me, but it's worth it. Called Graves RC, but he has RC. He's got a separate room where he has helicopters, a separate room where he's got cars, and he has everything that you can think of. He buys and sells used equipment. The entire ceiling is covered, hanging with used models, which he will buy and sell. It's a trip. It's a treat to go in there, and they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that's nice to have a shop where the people that run it actually know so many different things about what the builders are doing.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing I really
hobby shop like that here, but I do have. There's one couple hours away from me, and that was worth the drive when I've gone there. And they have control line planes in the ceiling, and the guy that works there actually, his mother designed the what plane was that? It'll come to me, but that place is neat. It has Brodak dope in there and all kinds of handles and spools of wire and you know all the things you need, fuel tanks, you know.
Did you say it was a plane his mother had designed?
Yeah, it's the guy who works there. His name is Tony Knock or something. But what plane is it? It's an old time stunt plane. You know, Keith Trossel has one. He brings to BSC every year. I can see it, but I don't see the name on it.
Oh well, just
anyways,
spot. You must have a cataract in your brain just covering that part up.
But so when you go in his shop, I mean, and he sold it, but he has a young man who bought the business, but he's still in there, kind of doing consulting to kind of help this young guy, you know, field all the questions and that kind of stuff. And but yeah, I mean, when I first went there, he actually had racks of Control Line World magazines and all kinds of magazines that had to do with stunts. So it's kind of really neat.
Oh, if there's one reason I'd like to visit the States besides going to Brodeck would be to see some of those old world hobby shops that I miss so much from when I was young. I don't think I'd find a single control line kit in any of the New Zealand shops now, let alone a bell crank. It's a bit sad. But yeah, we've got one large aeromodeling related hobby shop, but they're a long way from us. Airsale, they used to actually manufacture some control line kits. They made a couple of kits of their own. But
wow.
Yeah, things have changed a lot. There used to be, I can remember a few control line kits that were made in New Zealand, but they're all tend to be the smaller ones for the English Steagles. There was a little Nats racer, there was a showman for like a 2.5, and there was a sportsman and a juggler. They're the New Zealand ones I can remember. Oh,
Hey, Jorge Gonzalez, how you doing tonight, Jorge? We're good. That's on YouTube. Can you come in live with us, Jorge? We'll find out.
Yeah. I was thinking about making a business card so that when I out there flying, I can give them my business card so they can at least, maybe get back in touch with me, or even maybe have some websites on the back of it that they can go to, like RSM or Rodax, to get some information, and even put my YouTube channel on there to kind of help, give something to somebody. But there was a video I saw on the CL Guys channel, and they were talking about Pampa. It was actually Steve Busso, I think, was talking about this, where it was kind of like a pamphlet that Pampa was going to make and produce, where it actually would have the description of this pamphlet was, it would even have the drawings of the stunt pattern and things like that, good information to like explain what is control line, the whole bit. And the idea was to pass it out. And I thought, this is a 15, 20-year-old video, I think, but I don't know if they ever followed through with that, but I thought that was a terrific idea.
Well, at least we can all refer to Stunthangar when we meet people and they want to know a bit about control line. We can refer to Sticker Stunthangar, and we can tell them about the great AMA video that introduces everybody to control line from 1977. I can't remember the name of it, but there is some good material out there available off the internet that they can refer to. But as a club, the Auckland Free Flight Club, we designed a one-page handout to hand to people when we were doing different shows like the Model X. We could hand out to introduce people to what we were doing and who to contact and about our controlling body. Like you've got the AMA, and we've got our version here, Model Flying New Zealand, used to be the NZ AMA.
That's a great idea. Other than Joe Nall, I've never really been anywhere where there was anybody that I would hand anything like that to, because everywhere I go, the only people that were there were modelers and already knew everything I did about it. But I have not been. I know there's a lot of exhibitions and fun flies that I have never been to. So yeah, those kinds of things would be an opportunity to pass the word along, show them some pictures, give them some links and phone numbers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, because I actually had a guy today. He didn't speak a whole lot of English, but there was a guy today who was captivated, and he stood around and watched me fly. And I was at the center of my circle when he had to go, but he was like clapping and gave me thumbs up. He really liked it. But before I went to my plane, we talked a little bit, and he asked me, how much does it cost? And that's what I get asked all the time. How much does it like that cost? And I tell people routinely, I don't want to blow them out of the water, but I tell them that, to start from scratch, from nothing, probably need to spend about $200, $250. That's what, and I'm just guessing. I'm thinking if they need a fly box, lines, gas, handle, blow igniter, airplane, engine, starting from scratch, that's what I give them, a price like that.
And then I guess the price of a kit or an ARF and tools, there's different approaches you could take to describing, because there's different approaches to how you get there. So if you go the ARF route, for somebody that just wanted to test the waters, I guess that would probably be a good way to start. But buying a kit would be, I'd like to see more people that were willing to put the time and concentration it takes into buying a
What's
kit.
Brodak charging for a Ringmaster ARF?
What was that again?
A foot.
Brodak charging for a Ringmaster ARF? Around $80–$90?
I guess probably so.
Yeah, so, you know, if you can get an engine for $60, you're there.
I think my
you're pretty close.
I think
Well,
my
Jamie,
Cardinal was $120 kit, something like that.
Jamie says 110. I know the raw kit's still about 80 something, so 110, that little bit more. But you know, the motors and all are cheap. That's not really a problem. Just getting that raw model is hard, but often people will hand over a second-hand model just to get people started, and I've certainly done it, just to help people along. Just if they show enough interest, then you're prepared to. We normally try and get them to come along to a club meeting. If they come along to a club meeting, then you can explain the ins and outs and give them a basic idea of the safety aspects too, of where to and not to fly, things like that, which is an important consideration, because you see some people doing the most balmy things out. You know, they'll front up with a model with a 35 with Tyrolean lines on it and want to fly it you know, on 70-foot lines. Oh, I've seen some really strange things because they've got no idea. And often you can issues if they bring along a model to a meeting, then we can talk about it.
You know, I think Steve Hines was saying that Brodak has an electric Ringmaster that's a really good flying plane, and it's electric, already set up, ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much that would cost. But anybody starting, I'm actually inclined. You know, I like the smell of Castor. Anybody that doesn't know anything what they're doing, I'm inclined for them to maybe start with an electric plane. You know, all set up, designed.
That's true. You can buy one from Brodak that comes with everything you need. It's just like a startup kit for an electric plane, I think. I'm not sure if it applies to more than one airframe design or not. I hadn't really looked into it, but I believe they've got that for somebody just starting from nothing. It probably is a good buy.
Yeah.
I think the electric's very familiar for people. They're probably more familiar with using an electric motor and LiPo batteries, and they are familiar with the glow engine. So,
glow engine, you know, glow engine's almost a whole nother hobby.
Oh, it is. Oh, it can be so difficult to, and for someone who doesn't, you know, even know the nuances to, you know, choke it a couple times, flip it. I flipped my plane 5 times and put the glow plug on. It's a whole routine you got to learn.
Yeah, you just can't give somebody a fully assembled, prepped, fueled, electric, glow plane and take it out and say, go have, you know, give it to them and say, okay, go have fun. You know, that wouldn't be much fun for them.
No, especially they.
Half A's out there.
Yeah, I haven't seen the Cox or half a ARFs. Are there any half a ARFs?
And go.
They used to be popular. And when Black Hawk models were making small models,
Black Hawk made sort of ARF-like kits.
Yeah, they were very easy to make. They were a lot of fun, but the 049, I think it's a lot harder than an electric engine. As a kid, I remember it seemed like there was some weird magic going on trying to get them started. It took so long to get the fuel from the tank into the thing, and we didn't know about forcing the fuel through. You couldn't choke it on a baby bee, and just getting that first start, it took a long time to figure that you could flick it all you want, and it would run off the prime, but it wouldn't continue to run until you got fuel down to the reed, till it had filled.
Some of the times you had to tilt the plane a certain way to get it to start drawing fuel too, and it was just maddening sometimes.
Yeah. I wouldn't want a new person to be saddled with that. Yeah,
and those baby bees with the built-on tanks were so prone to mysterious air leaks too that they drive you nuts. So an off-board tank is definitely the way to go. rather than a built-on tank.
Glued reeds were another thing I used to remember. You'd try to start and the castor oil had glued the reed to the spring.
Yeah.
And then it didn't run. But yeah, they were a lot of fun. But as a youngster, you had the, I don't know, I enjoyed the challenge. And it was a big step though to go to a TD. I remember getting my first TD09. I thought it was so much fun.
Boy, you'd gone to heaven. Yeah. Once you go TD, you'll never go back.
Yeah.
You can say the same about Norvell too. When I got my first big MiG, that's what I said, because it was just an awesome engine. So was the TD. I had heard about TDs. I'd seen them, all my life in ads, and I'm like, what is that funny looking Cox engine? I didn't know, and I didn't need to buy one, so I had plenty of babies, and but then when I got back into it later in life and got into the forums and everything, somebody sent me a TD, well loved but well used 049, and I had one of those Top Flight flexible white with the red stripes on the tip, props on it, and when I cranked it up the first time, I couldn't get it to draw fuel, but I could get it to run off the prime, and I could see that prop flexing in and out as it would change RPMs. And I had to resist. I almost dove under the table, because that thing ran so fast it scared me. And so I finally got used to it, though. But I was a little like that with Norvells, but I was a little seasoned by TDs by the time I got my first Norvell. But a brand new and arrived from one of our Cox Engine Forum members down in Florida, sent me one, and my love for Norvell didn't end there.
Yeah, well, there's some great little engines out there that give a lot of fun. I have to say, I never anticipated that the little Gilberts would be such fun engines to use, but they were such a primitive side valve engine, but they made a lot of power, and they're just so reliable. And that's where you don't have to fly a huge 60 power model to have fun. It's something that if you've started with 049s, you realize there's that fun there. You always remember that fun with the small model, and you can go back to a whale of a time.
It wasn't that long ago. I didn't even know the big ones existed. I guess academically I did, but it's just never floated into my world. And so I'm glad I finally outgrew my church courtyard across the street and had to join a club where all of a sudden I was exposed to planes with some serious size to them.
Yeah.
And
happy you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first flew my first Magician, which I thought was a gigantic plane. I thought, wow, this is so cool because it was so stable. I just couldn't believe how stable it was.
Yeah, I thought my shoestring, that was my first 35 size stunter, and actually that was Fox 35 size. So it had I put a Thunder Tiger 25 on it, which was a ball bearing engine and way overpowered. But I didn't know any better. But to me, that was a big plane.
Oh, it's a nice song, but my two boys are flying a sort of 25 size model, a Fox 35, quite similar. The 35 plane bearing compared to the modern 25, similar power level, and they've been having a whale of a time. Not too much line tension, and yet enough line tension to make it's there, and we've enjoyed that. It's just the destruction's a bit more than a 049 or half A model.
Yes.
But one of my first 049 models, I found it in my parents' attic, and it looks really sad. I made it when I was at school. I can grab it, half of the wings missing, but I'll grab it. It's very sad. I made it.
Oh, wow.
I made it in about 1979.
That might be the ugliest one you've ever shown us, Gerald.
Wow.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know where the other half of the wing's gone, but it's been sitting there, all the tissue's gone. But
You
yeah,
can
it
salvage
was.
that. What's the rear of it look like? I see the wing. What's the rear of it look like?
It
Okay.
had the scallop tail, and part of it's missing as well. But it taught me to fly the basic loops and fly inverted with a little baby bee stuck on the nose. It just had the little baby bee
Yeah.
with the tank.
I see that.
Yeah,
Yeah, if
Very cool.
you flip it upside down with a full tank, it'll fly upside down a little while.
well, the funny thing was, I designed it myself, and the airfoil I had was a free flight airfoil that was a flat bottom airfoil. So I made up little ribs that went underneath and glued on underneath the ribs to give me my symmetrical airfoil so I could learn inverted. But yeah, it was very much a homegrown thing, and I've kept it all these years. My wife always says, "Why don't you just burn those old models?" But when it's that old, I've had it most of my life. I feel an attachment to it.
Yeah,
But
that's
it was,
sentimental value. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I wish I could find my old uh, Buster and my old Smoothie when I was a kid, but I don't know where they're at.
Oh, you had a smoothie as a kid?
Yeah, I didn't finish building it. I think I must have got frustrated and threw it away in frustration. But yeah, I had a who made that? Dumas, I think. Either Dumas
Vico.
Vico or Dumas.
Vico,
Dumas.
and then Vico was sold or bought by Dumas. And
Okay.
Dumas continued it.
Yeah. So I had that, and I remember I think I had a wood some sheetrock. I was trying to build it on, stick the pins through the balsa into the sheetrock. But I must have got just overwhelmed and threw it away.
Well, the sort of thing you can go back and build one as a vintage model now anyway. The kits are out there. You can easily order one from Brodak. They're not too.
I actually have a Brodak original smoothie kit in my closet.
Oh, excellent.
For that very reason, yes.
Yeah. Well, I was cleaning out my parents' attic. That's how I found that 049 model. And I also found this model. And I showed it to you the other week. I was putting it back together and I actually flew it on the weekend. And
Wow.
that was my first model that I learnt to fly the pattern with. It was,
Now, what is that? Is that a twister?
no,
Or
this
band?
is my own design. I didn't even know about twisters at the time. I had no
Wow.
idea what a twister was. So I designed it myself, as I tended to, because we didn't have the kits here. Not for
Oh,
large.
okay.
And so I took some ideas out of different magazines and I just designed it myself. It's got a solid wing, a solid foam wing, and the bell crank's mounted underneath the wing,
Okay.
and the external controls.
Very
But
cool.
it was my first proper flat model and first proper flat stunter. But I had it sitting up in my parents' attic and it was all in a whole lot of pieces.
Looks like a teeny bell crank.
Oh, it's actually a combat bell crank I put on it. The original bell crank was an aluminium bell crank that looked a bit sad, so I changed that out and I put on an Enya engine. Originally, it had an OS 35, hence the OS sticker on it. It had an OS 35 and an OS 40, but again, that's from the early 80s, a long time ago. But it was a little.
That's pretty cool.
But it's not beautiful.
How many planes do you have, Gerald?
Oh, I at one point Max came in here and he started counting them, and I think he got to something like 50 and gave up. But I've got planes in here, planes in the lounge, planes in the formal dining room, and I've got all the ones out of my parents' attic. But they're a huge number going back to the 70s when I started building. So it goes back a long way to when I was a teenager. And I've got ones here that my sons have built and also ones that my wife's built as well. And also some of my brother, he'd come up here to fly with us and he would leave his model here to fly with us next time. So I've got some of my brother's models here, a couple of his here too. But
I just noticed that Jack Snavely, I didn't announce it when he came in, but he's been with us before. He ran 2 049s today to break them in.
All right, Jack.
Tachometer's on his wish list. Yeah, you need to have a tack. I like the kind where I can shine a flashlight through the tack on the test stand and get a reading on it. They make ones with reflectors where you put a sticker on the wing, but I think that's a absurdly dumb way to do it, because you throw the balance off when you put a sticker on the prop. I said the wing a second ago. You put a sticker on the prop, and it's a laser, I guess, or reflective anyway, and reflects off the reflective sticker on the propeller to get your reading. But that ruined your RPMs when you put a sticker on it, especially if it's metallic. So I like the one like mine. I think it's a Hobbyco, just a little cheap tack.
Hey, Max, what's up?
Hello.
Hey Max.
Oh, how's it going?
Oh, Max is just walking in the
Can you bring some of that to me, Max? I want some cake also.
Gonna get yourself some cake.
All right.
Can you tell them what you were building?
Oh, last I was building my ringmaster.
Ah, very good.
Yeah, we just started, haven't we?
Mm.
Cutting out wing ribs. Yeah. Mm. You've got to zoom all back to the kitchen. Yeah, I can tell. You've probably got something going on the TV there.
Oh, very cool.
Or are they? You said they were on holiday. Are they break? What kind of holiday is it from school?
Well, they break their year up into 4 terms, and they get 2 weeks off. Over the Christmas break, they get a longer break. They get like a month and a half off, but they break it up into chunks of like, is it 3 months, and then they have a couple of weeks off in between. So it's their midwinter break.
Yeah, I wish we did it that way, but hardly anywhere in the U.S. does. And that makes it easier to schedule your vacations and family events too. And you know, some people don't want a vacation in the summer, but that's when the schools let out for what, 11 weeks or so.
That's a long time, yeah.
I remember when my son was in the 1st and 2nd grade, we used to go to the parent-teacher association meetings, and that was one of the debated topics. And we were for 45 days on, 45 days off. That was one of the proposals, and that seemed like a good idea too. We were strong for that, but nobody else was. It didn't get any support at all.
Well, it's hard. Long run.
Be bothered with their kids for 45 whole days being home.
Yeah.
I guess you know, with 2 working parents, I could see where that might be a complicated problem. So I don't know. Everybody's different.
Yeah. Well, Alina took a week off this week, so next week I'll try and get more work done on their ringmasters, and this week they're baking and making things, and I'm doing the other things with Alina, and we'll probably go out and do a bit more shopping than I probably would, but she likes to have a week off with them, have some time with them, because she works a long day and doesn't often see them more than a couple of hours in a day. It's all too common now. People just work huge hours. And, when I drive past in the evening, when you go past the school, you just see the kids are still at school for many hours after the school closes, waiting for the parents to get home. They've got to put them into after-school care. But it's just the way the world is nowadays. People are so busy. I'm just lucky that I'm able to do the parenting as well as a bit of work at home.
Yeah, yeah. Same here. I feel fortunate the same way. We homeschool our kids, and so I see them quite a bit. And you know, they say I'm always busy, but I'm available, you know, but I'm always busy.
Well, my son started his new job today.
All right.
Yeah, because he'd quit his old one up in North Carolina and moved back to Columbia to be with his family, who he met her at our outdoor concert in Virginia, and coincidentally she was from Columbia, South Carolina, where he grew up, where we live now. And so he had to get a makeshift job operating a big Samsung laser cutter for metal at a custom metal shop. And that was a pretty cool job, but it's not what he spent all his energy and money going to school for. So he wanted to get back into the chemical industry, and he just started his new job today. Works for a pharmaceutical company as a let's see, he is some kind of chemical analyst. It's on pharmaceuticals. So I'll find out more about it as it goes on. But I'm proud of him. So I guess we did everything we could to parent him right. It looks like we turned out a pretty good bun in the oven.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Very good.
They vacationed with us at the beach last week, so that's who came down. So his family and me and Holly, and so that's pretty cool. We had a great time. Turns out we're very compatible vacation partners, family wise. You know, some families go on vacation and it ain't pretty, but
No.
but we don't have that problem. We're all laid back and chilled out. You know, go your own way type of things. You know, what if you want to do something? Don't worry about who tags along and who doesn't. If you want to do it, do it. If somebody wants to come along, fine. If not, oh well.
Yeah. Because I don't want to go flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, my vacation would be just another flying site someplace else. Of course, my family does not feel the same way.
Well, I've got more hobbies than just airplanes. I got fishing. You know, that was one of my #1 hobbies, and I love to surf fish. So, you know, I can get away from airplanes for a week or two and stand out on the beach with my ankles feeling the rush of salt water surf around them and catching fish. I can do that. I can live like that.
Oh, that's very good. That's good. Since I got the habit again, I'm just like so crazy about this hobby,
Yeah.
which crowded out everything else.
You know, you got goals to meet, and practice is one of the goals as well as the end product. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
When I was young, I was into cars a lot more than I am now.
Yeah, me too.
It's a common interest that people get into that and music, into the music scene here in New Zealand. So, yeah, those sort of things change as you get older too. You look at something that your own age group are doing too. I think it's a factor.
Yeah. I mean, I did other things when I was younger, but I always kind of pretty much did one thing at a time. You know, cars and motorcycles. I didn't do them both at the same time. I did them separately. And planes were a separate thing back then too. I wish I would have continued to fly in model airplanes. When I got back into it, I was so astounded that I could have dropped this. I just don't know how I could have completely dropped it. It's like a mystery.
Well, you don't want to only be good at one thing in life, you know. So
yeah, I guess so. But I mean, when I got reconnected and put a handle in my hand and flew, I was just like astounded at that feeling, and I was just like, how did I just let this go completely?
Forgotten how much fun it is.
Yeah, I just don't. I'm like, how did this happen?
It's like some of those RC guys that scoff at control liners and inviting them to come give an expo, and then when they saw it, they're like, dang, I'd forgotten how much fun that was, or didn't actually pursue it enough to know could be one thing, but yeah.
Yeah.
I love drag racing and working on cars too, but man, that works on you though. You end up with gnarly looking hands like that, you know. But hey, got the bolts turned.
Yeah,
it's cool drag racing, and I think that's something that you realise as you get older. That model planes, you can do it with a fair degree of your own sort of decision making. You're not governed by a whole lot of expensive rules and regulations like drag racing, where it is.
That's right.
The safety is a very big issue with drag racing, and I suppose it's like full size aircraft. Again, it's a very expensive hobby. and to own your own full-size aircraft, you've got to have bucket loads of money just to keep it all legit and everything compliant with the different codes. But yeah, aeromodeling is something you've got a lot of flexibility what you can do, and it doesn't have to be an expensive hobby. You can do it at a whole lot of different levels.
Yeah, general aviation comes with a whole lot of responsibilities that we don't have to consider with model aviation.
I've been involved in a lot of different groups as a youngster. I worked at the Museum of Transport and Technology as a volunteer there, and flying our model planes there, and worked as a contractor in the military section there, restoring vehicles. And a lot of it's very interesting, but a lot of the people in the military section at NOTAT, they actually said they were involved in the museum's military section because they couldn't afford to own the vehicles themselves. They didn't have the tools, the equipment, or the space. So they came along, participate as a volunteer to let them carry out their hobby at a lot less expense. And that was interesting too. You realise, well, our model planes aren't that prohibitive. They don't require a lot of space and a lot of money. And it's a good feeling to think you can be flying indoor models built out of a $10 kit, or you can be building elaborate quarter scale or third scale models that are radio controlled. It's what you choose to do, and a lot of people they simply choose a discipline because it suits them, not just to show off or because their skills are there. They just like it, and there's not a lot of logic to why some people choose to do the events they choose.
Yeah, I was just checking on Stunthangar. I just see that Chris Cox won the. He was a concourse winner.
What kind of plane was it?
I don't know. That I wish there was a way I could post videos on this Google Hangout successfully, because it's a little video that I think Sparky did, but it's under the open thread on the forum, and yeah, so that's glad to hear about Chris Cox. That's good.
Where's Chris Cox from?
Canada.
I know the name, but
Yeah, he's a short guy like I am. Well, he's a short guy like Sparky.
And we get a fair turnout of Canadians at Huntersville in October. I wonder if he's ever been there.
Yeah,
we get from all over in Huntersville.
Flies his plane. He flies a plane to some of the contests.
Oh, really?
He's a real pilot. Yeah, a small aircraft pilot.
Yeah, so is Bob Zambelli. First time I visited him, he gave me the nickel tour, and he rolled up the door of his hangar, which is attached to his house or detached from his house, but it's in the backyard, and rolled up the door. There's 2 airplanes and 2 Ferraris and maybe a Alpha Spider or something like that, or no, some kind of Alfa Romeo. But I'm like, damn, he's got engines on stands, and it's immaculately clean, and he's got a great workshop too.
Well, I bet. Yeah, I've always impressed with his. He has some neat technology. I've seen matter of fact, I read an article from Bob Zambelli on how to fix I had a problem with a plane of mine where over time the stab sagged out of sorts, so it wasn't parallel with the wing. And his article showed featured a jig that you would, like a triangular shaped jig with a long stick attached to it, where you could attach weight to it. So you put the triangle thing through the wing that's high, and you attach weight to it, and then it would, and you heat up the fuselage, and when it cools, it's straight. And I go, wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah, probably overbend it a little bit.
Right, you go a little bit further beyond parallel, and then when you're all said and done, I mean, it fixed my problem. I was really grateful for that technology.
Did it turn out to be the fuselage that had twisted, or was it the wing or stab itself that had?
I think it was the fuselage that twisted. See, what happened was, this is prior to my setup I have now in my vehicle. I had all these planes in there, and just the heat of the day, it twisted the fuselage.
I warped my son's plastic PT-19, putting it in the back window of the car at the beach one time, and it stayed out there for a week. And the wing looked like it was rippled like that, and totally
Wow.
useless. I had to buy a new one on eBay.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, when it gets like a pretzel, it's pretty much you got to redo it.
Yeah, there was nothing. I thought about it for about a minute and figured, nah, there's no way. It's that soft kind of plastic anyway. I don't know much about plastics, but I was pretty sure it wouldn't straighten back out.
Yeah, so I imagine Bob has some other good ideas as well.
Oh, he is so full of them. Yeah. He noticed a problem with my Oriental one time when I was flying that one of the wings was flapping, which is never a good thing. And we walked back across the street to his house and we put it up on the table and he walked around and inspected it a minute. Next thing I knew, he had a knife in his hand and I'm like, what? And cutting into that thing. And he took carbon tow and twisted it up from some carbon threads and gouged a long line in the spar where it turned out it had a broken spar inside the fuselage. And he packed that gash he cut in the spar with carbon tow, twisted up and turned it into a rod. It was like a custom shaped rod that when he was all finished, and it was straight as an arrow and strong as it was when it was new, or probably stronger. And I'm like, damn, Bob, that would have taken me a month to do.
To figure that out, yeah.
This thing's got the plastic bolt, plastic twist as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the wings bowed. I think it's just age. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
19, and
Yeah,
it's got
I can see it.
the inboard wing really high up. I've never flown it. I'm not likely to get another wing for it. But yeah, just the
I like
wings.
those cheeks on that
shape.
fuselage.
Yeah.
I like the cheek cowl. The cheek cowl looks cool.
Yeah, it's like a rear wing racer, I think, is the shape of it. And it's got a little wing mag. It's actually branded as Tyco, made in Mexico. So, I can't remember what I bought it, but it's a long time ago. But yeah, it's just that thing that the plastic does walk, like you said. Did you ever think of a way that you could warp it back?
That
Yeah,
one
yeah.
was.
Maybe with a,
Go ahead, Charles.
I was gonna say, get some hot towels and heat up that plastic and then bend it beyond the point so when it cools, it will cool down. Put some towels in some boiling water and get them really hot, and then grab the towels with some tongs, and then wrap the plastic with the towel to heat up and soften the plastic, and then somehow you got to make it rigid beyond the point, and then allow it to cool. That might fix it.
Yeah, I never thought of doing. I know I've done that with a balsa model. I did it with my Super Ringmaster, the hot towel method. But yeah, I suppose it's worth trying on plastic, because plastic is heat sensitive, and maybe it isn't that high a temperature you've got to get it. But the way it is warped now, I'd never try flying it. It will just come straight into the circle with the big warp on the end of the wing.
Yeah, been there and done that and been before.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, been there, done. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I've been chased by more than one model through the center of the circle.
Yeah, it's a scary feeling when they're running after you.
Yeah, it is. I have a picture of the end result of that. Where's my picture at? Yeah, I actually thought I was such a great athlete and had my Banshee come after me. I mean, my model airplane Banshee, and it was coming right toward me. I took off running, and again, being the athletic prowess that I have, I think I took off so fast I tripped.
Oh,
After a couple of steps, plane just barely missed me. And my flying companion there, he was just, once he knew I was all right, he was just cracking up, you know. And I started laughing because it must have looked ridiculous.
I'm sure some of those flights would be
You got
brilliant.
there, Ron.
That's known as a big oops.
Oh yeah, that is a big oops. Oh man, that's too bad.
Maybe what it looked like before that.
Oh wow. Oh, what a shame.
That's one of my Navy carrier planes.
Oh,
Oh wow.
But that one chased me through the center of the circle. And yes, long ago I had ringmasters.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah.
I won't tell you how old that picture is.
Pretty cool looking dude back then.
Yeah, you are.
I had hair that actually was colored.
Yes.
Charles, I didn't look quite like you.
We
Oh,
I used to have a little bit.
they say it either turns gray or falls out. So
No, kids make you pull it out.
yeah, that's true too. My uncle says that grass doesn't grow on a busy street. So
I like that.
That reminded me. I got a picture of me back when I was cool, but I can't find it right
you're still
now.
cool, man. You're still cool as me. He was cooler probably, but you're still cool.
Let's see what have I got here. Rusty, and oh, there it is. Rusty's college days. Here I am. Let me see if I can share this picture. It was taken on one of those cameras where you snap the picture and a card comes rolling out of it.
A Polaroid? A Polaroid?
Sort of like that, yeah. Back after everybody started making them like that. I gotta get
Instant camera.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, now let's see. Go back and share this. Screen sharing. Application window. Here I am. Share. There you go.
Oh, let me check on you. Wow, that's you. Wow. I can see the resemblance.
That's back. I was probably, I don't know, let's see, 21 or 22 years old. Maybe older than that. Not much, though.
Very cool. Yep, reflecting back to the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah, the time just passes so fast. You think you're still young until you watch everybody else aging around you, and you realize I'm aging too. I'm just as old as all of them, all my rallies.
Yeah, no, I feel pretty young myself.
On a good day, I feel still young, but on a bad day, I feel like I'm 1 foot in the grave.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, I'm about 110 then.
I figured that's about what you were, Ron.
All right.
You look good for your age. The whole thing, you just got to keep the attitude up as well, isn't it? Just tell yourself, I'm still young enough to fly these planes for another 20 years yet.
You're as old as you feel.
That's right. I think flying planes keep you young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it. When you're flying a plane, you cannot stop thinking. Your brain is thinking the whole time you're flying. You can't.
Definitely does. And I realized today how much mine has slowed down since I've been on the sidelines, because I was laying in bed trying to take a nap, and I said, okay, I'm going to fly myself to sleep. And I tried flying a pattern, and I kept not forgetting what to do. I actually never had that problem, but I just kept having my concentration veer off onto some other subject, and I wasn't flying anymore. And I'm like, damn, I not do that. If I was really out there on the field, I hope I would be paying more attention than this.
Oh, you would. You'd feel that tug.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully. If I didn't, I'd feel it pulling on my wrist.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you get a good handle set up. Good idea.
I'll figure something out.
Yeah.
Right, I got so little stamina, but It'll come. I just got to be patient. It's not going to come without me making it come.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. But anyway,
Well,
getting
just
Weldon will get me juiced too. I'm glad that I was able to get more done in the shop than I have been all summer so far, and still got half the summer left or more. It's really summer here until mid to late October. So
yeah. You know, I was talking to my friend. He said it didn't get dark in Muncie till almost 10 o'clock at night.
All right.
it depends on where you are in the time zone. If you're in the western edge of the time zone, yeah, it waits a long time before the sun passes. I'm in about the middle of, I think I'm about the middle of
About
our,
8:30 around here.
about what time?
Around 8:30.
Yeah,
That's
it gets
about
dark.
right. Me and you are about in the same area. We're in about the same longitude.
Yeah, we're real close.
It's 8:30 here too, but he said didn't get dark till almost 10. I was like, wow, that is cool. They had to fly
I love that.
so late, you know.
Yeah. On the other hand, it's dark until well into the morning too. If it's late, that late setting, then it's also late rising.
Oh, okay.
I suppose I get the really long summer days in Canada as you get closer and closer to the pole.
Yeah.
Who doesn't use daylight savings time? I know there's little bits and places here and there, but do most countries around the world use daylight savings time now?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe some countries around the equator don't. To keep the consistency between
Yeah,
summer and
no need to. Yeah.
Yeah, there's parts of Arizona or a part of Arizona my sister-in-law lives in, and they don't have daylight savings time there.
There would be no reason at the equator because I mean it's the same every day right on the equator, wouldn't it be?
Yeah, it
I
should
have no idea.
Pretty close.
It should
Yeah.
be. It should be exactly not even pretty close because the Earth never moves.
Well, you got to tilt to the axis.
It does, but
Wobble.
yeah, but as the Earth turns, that equator is always it's always slicing through the sunlight in the same place. Okay, I'm gonna have to get a flashlight and a globe out and think about this. So we'll talk about it another time.
Yep.
You know, the phases of the moon
Try
never
that.
confuse me.
Just so happens I have one handy.
Yeah. No matter what time of the year is, you
So
spin
it's gonna
around
wobble a
every day.
little bit.
Every day is pointed at the sun from the same angle.
Not quite. It's going to wobble just a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just gotta think about it.
I don't even believe that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles an hour. I don't even believe in that.
Well, it's 24,000 miles around, right? So
Yeah,
Yeah. that's why there's 24 hours in a day.
All I know is when we go down to the South Island, you get the really nice long summer evenings where it's light till about 10 o'clock in the South Island, where it's a lot darker a lot earlier here in the North Island. It'll be darker an hour earlier, the same time of day.
Are you on the North or South Island?
I'm on the North Island, New Zealand.
Which one?
The North Island.
Oh, okay.
The main city in New Zealand is Auckland, and we're only tiny compared to any of the cities in America. We're only a tiny country. We're probably a similar size to the size of England, but the north of the country is almost tropical, and the south of the country is quite cold. It's like in the South America, the bottom of the South America, there's a huge variation just because of the fact that the country is long and skinny, and the temperature changes a lot. When they settled New Zealand, when Maori came here, they settled mainly around the north because they could grow a lot more, all their different kumara and taro and what would grow much more readily, whereas in the bottom of the South Island, it was a very different environment. Everything looks like it struggles a lot more to grow. You don't have the same tropical foods growing there. It's the same. You've got in the USA, you've got a very big spread of climate between the top and bottom. Oh, not somebody else has got their globe out.
Oh yeah, man. No, never leave home without it.
All right.
In case I get lost.
Oh my goodness.
This is a strange group.
Oh,
What
well.
do you mean?
Air modelers are a bit different, I think. Yeah, we've all got different opinions and different ideas. And
Might be an air modeler if you're strange.
We have eclectic lines of thought.
Yeah, I got to put out my Earth model.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. I'll have
The
to click
same
on-
one that the United Nations use.
And we all have the stuff so handy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, because you guys believe in that, and I believe in this. Same thing as the United Nations flag uses.
Are you a flat earther, Charles?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yeah,
Charles.
we've got our own views on it, and I think it's we can't stand back from it and look at it, so it's all a fair view.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose there are some things we know are definite, like the sun normally comes up in the morning, and a lot of it outside of that, it's hard to prove one way or the other. So you just got to respect other people's beliefs. Yeah.
I can't comment on that without sounding either condescending or downright rude. So,
Yeah. It's not to go there. It's like religion. I think a lot of us have been deeply involved in religion. I was in a Catholic youth group as a kid, and I sort of drifted away from that. But I still have to respect where they're coming from, even though I'm not deeply involved in the Catholic Church like I was as a kid. But you change as you get older. Different things influence you.
the Catholic Church has historically been extremely tied to science over the years. I think they've done a lot of. They're not afraid that. Never mind. I don't want to talk about this.
Best not to. We'll stick to planes. We'll get back on planes again. It's much safer. Don't want to upset anybody. But yeah, it's funny though, digging through all the old memories of my parents' attic, all the models that I had stored up there, and like that model I showed you before, the red one, it had like a 2-ounce tank on it. And I thought, well, if I first did the 4-leaf clover with it, I must have been doing the maneuvers piecemeal. I must have thought, today I'm going to work on the 4-leaf clover, and I'll spend my 2-minute flight practicing 4-leaf clovers. But I can't really remember that well. I obviously didn't fly a full pattern with it going off the tiny little tank on it. You can see for a 40 size model, the actual tank is it's minuscule. Yeah, it's a tiny little tank. That was the tank I had, and it would be no more than 2 ounces.
Yes.
But
What motor did you have on it when you was a kid?
I had an OS 35. I got it for Christmas one year. My mother bought it for Christmas, and then I went to an OS 40H, and that was the big motor. That was the big block motor for me. Was the big OS 40, and when I dug it out again, I thought I'll put another motor on it for the kids. But 40 had long been pulled off when I had a Enya 40, the FS, the plain bearing 40, and they're supposed to be a good stunt motor. And I made up my own Venturi, as I have been doing. I got out my bit of aluminium tube and made up a Venturi, like a 6mm Venturi. And
Oh, very cool.
got the Enya spray bar and stuck it through from the side. And
Very cool.
the hole on the side, and I JB welded it all together, and it worked really well. I have to say the Enya made a really nice engine run. It seemed to transition nicely, going that little bit lean when you want it to in the maneuvers. So I'll have to
That
pull the tank.
material looks like it gets smaller. It gets
Yeah.
smaller and go deeper.
Yeah, what I did is I got a little cyno top and I glued it in. I cut it off and glued it in. Get a bottle like this. You get one of these bottles, take the top off, and then cut it. You cut it at the length that you want it. Like if you want a 6mm Venturi, then cut it off at 6mm. Get your vernier and cut it off at 6mm inside diameter.
Okay.
And then you push that in, and then I drilled the hole through so it would retain it in place in the aluminium tube, and that way you can make up a whole string of Venturis. If you've got lots of cyno bottles, you've got lots of different Venturi sizes, and that system I've used it on a whole lot of motors now.
Ingenious.
And it doesn't. Yeah, it's cheap, it's easy, and very convenient.
Wow, that is a great idea. See, it's worth the admission. just hearing that, because I have some larger Venturis from my stalker, and they're too big. And I was thinking how to reduce the ID.
Yeah.
And
It's a quick and easy way to do it.
I know.
Yeah,
It's
these are
not
my
going to hold up.
they're my great friends, the JB World.
Yes.
I-
The JB Weld, that top of that CA bottle in there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I normally go through underneath and just put a little fillet around the bottom of the CA bottle's lid to make it flow in. So I've got a nice shaped Venturi going on both sides. So I've got a nice hourglass shaped Venturi, and that point that I set, in that case 6mm, is where I've cut it off, and then I just blend it out with a bit of JB Weld, and it's worked perfectly for a lot of motors. And I did it with those Fox 36s as well, with those common models.
So do you roughen the inside surface a little bit before you put the JB Weld, or you just leave it smooth?
Yeah, I'll roughen it just so that it'll stick a bit better. But if you put the spray bar through it, it won't move. It won't come out. I normally drill the hole through so it just catches the end of the end of the bottle, so that it's captured in place by the spray bar. So where I've drilled the spray bar through the Venturi, you can probably see there that the spray bar is holding the Venturi insert in place.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. So it can't even go down any further.
Yeah, it can't come out, can't go in any further. But yeah, that system's worked really well. And it just means I've got
through the cap.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. So the cap's not on top of the needle valve. You actually have the needle valve going through the cap.
Yeah, that's right. It's retained.
Wow, I love that.
But yeah, I've used it on a whole lot of motors now, and it's been great. A great system, because getting parts here in New Zealand, as you can imagine, makes it difficult. So you just try and think of an ingenious, simple, low-cost solution whenever you come across a problem, because otherwise I'd need a lathe. I'd be making a Venturi up each time if I had to change my Venturi size. And I think a lot of
actually enlarge that hole relatively easy too. The ID, you can actually enlarge it, right? Just use a reamer and just kind of enlarge the hole a little bit.
Yeah, and virtually any cap will do. If you find that you've got a different size Venturi, then just find a different cap. You know, you might have a tomato sauce bottle or something, and just use the cap off that. And I've always got plenty of different sizes of aluminium tube, because you can get them quite easily from a hardware. So yeah, I've done a whole lot of them just using rudimentary materials. And the spray bar assemblies are very easy to come by, because a lot of the motors I get are all radio control. So I just take the spray bar out and reuse it coming in from one side. And if I angle it, like on those,
make a video, Gerald, and post it on your channel.
yeah, I should do. Yeah, I've got a lot of pictures.
Or even just do a show and tell on here one time.
Yeah,
I would love to see how you do that.
Yeah, I was just thinking I'm going to have to go back and listen to your explanation from what, about 8 or 10 minutes ago through the whole thing, because I was kind of taking care of other things here and didn't get the details. So yeah, and I've got some of those little glue bottles and caps too. I bought a handful of those extra caps last time I was at the hobby shop.
Yeah, because most of the spigot of the Venturi hole size in most motors is similar. It's like 13mm, 16mm. So once you've got your aluminium tubing in the right size, then you can just make up your insert to whatever size you want. Where you can come up with a whole line of different Venturi. And if they've got the spigot where it uses the clinch bolt to hold the Venturi, and that makes it even easier. You don't have to pass anything through the Venturi. But even then, I don't generally bother too much if I just glue the Venturi in. You just heat it with a heat gun and you can pull it out again. Because the front of the motor is always cold. I
keep learning things all the time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, you know, Gerald, that cap, that glue cap. Yeah. So I saw you take the calipers and you measured 6mm, right?
Yeah.
And then you cut it right there.
Yeah. So there's the one I cut to make that one up. There's the cap. There's a cut cap. So you just cut. You're just measuring it where you're measuring the internal diameter where you want to cut it. So you'll select your 6mm there and cut it off, push it in.
Now, where
And
the
then-
6mm is at the smallest part of that cap, then
Yeah.
where do you drill the hole for the needle valve to go through that?
I normally go like a couple of millimeters or a 1/16 of an inch above that point where it's cut, and so it'll retain it nicely, just leaving enough meat in the cap to hold it in there. So you just need to go slightly above.
You gotta move your hand and you're not in the camera, in the center of the camera. There.
Yeah.
Okay. So your
So-
thumb, is that where that is your
Yeah.
thumb
The caliper is where I do
below the needle valve?
Yeah, that's where I do the needle valve hole.
Okay.
It's a lot of it's not that critical, but if it's got a nice taper in your needle valve assembly, it'll work a whole lot better. So if you
Right.
if it goes down like that with the cap, and then I flare it out with a bit of JB weld, then I can keep that contour there and keep a nice shape to my needle valve assembly. And I've got my spray bar just slightly above the lowest point, and so the spray bar is coming in just slightly above the lowest point where it's cut off, and then it flares in with the JB weld. And then if I have to glue the tube into the venturi opening, or if it's got a clinch bolt, that's even better. It just means you can do it up with a clinch bolt. And if I have to use JB weld to seal it, I'll seal it with JB weld, because I can get the JB weld off easily with a heat gun. As soon as you heat JB weld up with a heat gun, it goes soft, and you can just pull it off with a knife, with a modeling knife. So it's not permanent. You're not ruining anything. But if you want to take it off, you just heat it again. It's just like if you've got a motor and it's covered with dobs of araldite or epoxy, you can easily get them off with a bit of heat. And
Wow.
it's just,
I really like that idea, Gerald. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's what's so amazing. I saw the venturi, and then I just asked you a question about it, and then here it opens up, and it's like, wow, that was a great trick. I'm glad I asked that question. I saw the concaveness of your venturi, and you said it was an aluminum tube, and I was like, how did you do that? That is slick.
I've done it on many motors now. In the past too, when we used to run combat motors, we'd put a bit of rubber tube on the venturi. So in a crash, the rubber tube would fold back over and shut the venturi, so dirt wouldn't go into the venturi. That was another neat trick that we used to do in the past. I've got one here. It's got venturi, and it's got the rubber tube on it. And in a crash, the rubber bends back and closes off the venturi. That was another neat trick. So you don't end dirt going. Yeah, you don't get dirt going into the venturi. But
Oh, I'm going to show my combat friends that trick. That is very slick.
it just saves a lot of time trying to get all the dirt out before you can restart if you're in the middle of a match.
Sometimes you got to take the motor home and you're done for the day. But for that plane, anyways.
Yeah, especially if you got a ball bearing engine, you can't do anything until you take it apart and clean it out. If you got ball bearings, not like
all you've got to use is like a one of those plastic pull ties and if it's soft enough rubber tubing, it'll just flex back like vacuum line, car vacuum line. That's fairly soft, not the heavy fuel tubing that you'd use on a car, but just the soft tubing that you use on the vacuum line or some of the other emissions lines. They've got a very soft, lightweight rubber tubing. That's the sort of rubber tubing you want, something that'll hold its shape while the motor's running, but it'll fold back in a crash.
Yeah, most of my Venturis my flying plane that I'm flying with right now, it has that blue line filter on it. The ones that Sparky got at the Nats last year or the year before from Jamie. That's what I normally have when I'm flying the plane, is that. And that's kind of what keeps my Venturi kind of clean.
Yeah, and it would help in a crash too. You could probably take it off and clean it out separately. But yeah, with a combat model, especially when my two boys are concerned, and they're constantly planting things all over the place. I'm keen to try out some of the other line too, the synthetic line. Anything that sort of makes it easier to get out there and just practice. Often we go along to the flying field, you've only got so much time to get your flight in. You just want to make sure everything's well sorted and you're not going to have any hiccup that's going to throw you out of the running. That's why I always have different fuels, different fuel bottles. I'll just make sure I've doubled up on everything so I can go along there and fly no matter what. And I'll always try and take at least 4 models with me so that we're covered.
So now, what are you using for a fuel delivery to get the fuel into your tank? How are you doing that?
I'm using just large squeezy bottles, but in the past I used to use one of those crank pumps, the hand crank pump, and I've used an electric pump. I've used the electric one was probably the most fiddly, but the system I've got I need to improve. I bought another. I had the one that was like the pump that you use on the marine ones. They use for priming their tanks, so the squeeze ones that you. That was quite convenient too. I've used one of those too.
I use those six ounce syringes you can get, and I found that the best place to get those is at a like a veterinary supply.
Yeah.
You know, like they use them for irrigation for animals, you know, whatever or something. And then last maybe several months ago, I showed you my newest one, which is like a 10-ounce syringe. You know.
Can you get those with the lure lock tips on them?
Yeah, if you go through a veterinarian supply, you can get any kind of tip you want, pretty much. The one I like is it's a tapered one because it's stronger. The one you mentioned is I had them before, and then when I throw the syringe toward my toolbox, I break off the tip, and I said that's not going to work. So next time I ordered one which had a tapered tip, and that taper is pretty robust. The only problem is sliding a hose over it. You know, I ended up using 2 different size hoses to get it to work, but that seems to be the kicker, because I was replacing my syringes mostly because the tips kept breaking or cracking or doing something which made them, you know, unusable. And then I realized I just needed to get a better tip, because I was spending at the hobby store, you know, $10 for those 6-ounce syringes. And I found them at a one place out here called Cal Veterinary Supply, and they were like $6 a syringe. So it's a dramatic savings. I bought 2 or 3 of them, and I just paid shipping, and it was like, you know, that's how I do it now.
You know, like I've used syringes in the past when I was running the digital bladder tanks with some of the combat models, but I haven't used syringes because they were always too small. I hadn't checked out the 6-ounce syringes. It's a new one for me, really.
Now on my Stalker, my Strega uses like almost 7 ounces, so that was kind of an inconvenience to use a 6-ounce syringe. So that's when I got the one from Rojet, and it's at least a 10, 11 ounce syringe that I use, and it's just, you know, one time. I kind of like that best, but it's kind of overkill on my smaller planes.
Yeah, well, you just need different gear for different models. I know when you're using a small diesel engine, you don't need a huge amount. So I always have a small squeezy bottle for the diesel engines, and I don't like to get the diesel in my glow fuel, so I always carry a separate bottle just for the diesel.
Yeah.
But all that sort of gear makes a big difference if you can be out there operating quicker. You're not spilling fuel everywhere, or you're able to take out a measured amount.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about being prepared, you know, generally, and something which is duplicatable and simplistic, you know. I don't want a complicated system where I got to put in, you know, 3 ounces through this one syringe and then get another syringe and put another 4 ounces in, and I'll be wondering, did I do the 3 already? You know?
I get confused. Exactly.
I don't want to do that in a contest where I'm like, did I did 3 or 4 out, you know? Crazy.
Yeah, no room for contest.
Yeah, and then you have an overrun and you lose the contest, you know?
Doing that. As a young guy, I'd always have a huge tank, big tank, and run over and overrun a couple of minutes and annoy everybody.
Yeah, that is kind of annoying. People are like, want to ask if you want me to bring you some coffee in the center of the circle.
Well, you're going to have a pretty poor run after 10 minutes or so as well. The motor's going to be dead lean by that far in. But yeah, we optimize it. I remember as a kid, I built a tank for a combat wing. It was a G15, and I had it was a 6.5 ounce tank on this little 2.5cc engine. And
Wow.
it would never run out even half the tank, though. It just went off. It would never, it would only fly out half the tank. I think I just had the thought that I won't have to refuel. I can just stay up there. I'll be there for the whole bout. I'll get my whole flight time in, because if nobody gets a cut, you'll still win on airtime. So that I think was my thinking at the time. But you'd never get a consistent run out of a 6.5 ounce tank on a 2.5cc engine. 15.
Yeah. So are you using just stock reels? I mean, I know you're in New Zealand, so are you able to get reels, or do you make your own reels? What do you do for the storage and lines?
Oh, I normally just use the those plastic reels. That's the ones I've made up reels in the past, but I normally just use the
Okay, I was just curious.
ones.
I imagine some
Can't
people
buy them anymore. We don't have the hobby shops that used to carry this control line supplies, and in the future they're going to change. Some of the importation laws here in New Zealand will become more and more difficult to get stuff in. They want to put a services tax on everything that comes in, even very small items, and the problem will be that you have to get an importation. It's a licensing system that could make it very costly to bring in any small item. So maybe ultimately we'll be traveling overseas like people used to do in the 60s and 50s. People would have to have an importation license to bring in goods, and it would get so difficult. People would do their big OE and go and buy some motors or propellers or whatever they need while they're on an overseas trip. So I'm hoping it doesn't get that bad, but that's the worry that we will have.
Yeah, I hope not either. Yeah, speaking of reels, did you see that reel that Dennis showed? He had pretty neat reel. It actually had ball bearings in it, and it's really smooth. I bought one. It was shown on. Someone showed it on the forum probably over a year ago. But that's a nice reel too, and it's really inexpensive, like $3 or $4 on eBay. And ball bearings.
I'll just see if I can find it.
Yeah, there was a thread about a year or so ago. It's probably the one you're talking about. That
Yeah, it's a blue plastic reel with ball bearings. Yeah, and Dennis showed one probably I don't know 4 months ago. I actually asked Dennis a lot of questions about it because I had one. You have to do modifications to make it. I think it's designed for kites, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, there's a lot of kite stuff that crosses over into our lines and reels.
Yeah. Well, before I knew about getting these plastic reels, and before a lot of it was easily available, lines used to come on 2 pieces of cardboard. They'd be stapled between these 2 pieces of cardboard. I'd make up my own reels, and if you want to see the worst reel ever imaginable, have a look at my old-fashioned line reels.
Wow.
Paint tin lids welded onto smaller tins, and
How long were your lines? Were your lines
no, just absolutely ridiculous what I made up. But
yeah, it's kind of ridiculous for just like a 60-foot line.
Well, this one's got 70 foot on it. This one's got 70 on it.
Wow. Oh, I see. Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah. No, that is,
You know what? We got to do what we got to do. I totally understand that.
yeah. That's when you don't know any better, you end up with some funny things happening. And
that works. I would have loved to seen you roll them up. I think the real joke is watching you roll it up.
Well, they'd spin on this wooden dowel. I had my wooden dowel, and I could roll them up on the dowel. So I put a hole in the middle of them.
Yeah, how many times do the lines come off that though?
Yeah.
Right? How many times do the lines come off?
I can't. I remember using them, but I just remember as soon as I was able to get plastic reels, these were stuffed up in my parents' attic, and they came down the other day when I was cleaning up my parents' attic. I just said, "Get all your junk out of that attic." So Yeah, it's just
That is comic relief, man. That is so funny. I'm laughing about it.
Oh well, at least somebody else. I can dispose of them quietly now.
That's very amusing. Yeah. Well, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. You know, if you can't find them, I mean, I'd probably, if I didn't have, because I used was it Pylon and Sig lines as a kid, and thank God for those Pylon lines.
Yeah.
Else I would have had to do something similar to that.
Yeah. Well, some guys did make up nice wooden reels. I think I've got one nice wooden one. I'll show you.
Yeah, I was watching the BSC video, and there were some guys who had some wooden reels. They're pretty big. They look like they're like 8 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
I've seen these wooden reels before, and I don't know how they use them. So, Ron, I imagine in the good old days, you must have had some interesting ways of doing things too, Ron, right?
Hey, I remember the cardboard reels. You
I've got a
used to have
couple of
few
those. I inherited, sort if you will, some of Alan Brickhouse's old gear, and there were some. It was back when I had the Magnum, and so there were some 018 wires that were unfinished and spooled up, brand new on cardboard like that. And I'd never seen a cardboard spool before or after that.
I've never seen a cardboard spool. Oh, that's cool looking. I've seen those before.
That's nice looking too.
Yeah, that's a fancy one.
Wow.
Somebody here made it. It's got a name on it. It says Flywise Nito, but it's got Taylor. Again, it's one I've inherited over the years. The problem is so many people give up and they pass the gear on. I can't even remember half the time who passed it on to me. Or I bought them with a batch of estate stuff. But it's a bit of a sad travesty of the control line flying. A lot of gears floating around that was made many years ago, and you don't know who made the model or who made the gear. But yeah, those were quite a nice one.
That looks very nice.
Yeah, I think they've got a sandwich of pine or something and just plywood on each side, and they've nicely varnished them. You've got 2 holes to put your like a couple of screwdrivers through.
Oh, okay, so then you can crank it on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's kind of ingenious. I like that.
Yeah, I thought I could use the reels for my MIG welder. They look like they'd be quite practical, but they're just too wide. And you just have to have something that's compact. I think at the end of the day, you don't want something that's going to take up a whole lot of space or get in your way, like my big steel affairs there. They're extremely clunky.
Yeah, I hate when my reels break. Yeah, I use those plastic reels, and sometimes you're rolling up your lines and the reel breaks, and it's like, oh man, what a mess.
I like the 5-inch. I like the 5-inch wide size, but
oh yeah, those are nice.
I hate the steel clip though. I barely can work that clip without injuring myself. So
yeah, it just has a little bit of strength.
I could get that's overkill. I could get the Dremel out and cut it into 3 pieces probably. And use the same 3 spools.
I normally just put them in a bread bag. I can't be bothered with the clip. Some people use the clip, but I just find it too hard, especially when your hands are cold and the weather's cold. That clip goes sore to you.
So easy to misplace too.
Yeah. And they dig in your pockets. When you put them in your pockets and you've got this thing poking you in your pocket.
Yeah.
You know what I do with the clips? I have the smaller reels and the big reel you mentioned, Rusty. I actually drill a hole in the center of that clip, and I put a line connector on it. And so when I have the wires wrapped around the spool of the reel, I will connect the line connectors to the flying wires, and then I attach the clip, so it keeps it all taut.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I usually use a piece of styrofoam. I use a piece of spongy styrofoam
That works.
shove it up under the clip.
That works too. Or even if you was to cut sandals, make really good neoprene sandal material. Would you walk on? You know, the sandals.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I used to cut that up, and that'll go
Or
in
the
between
big,
really
yeah,
well.
I've used exactly the same thing, except it wasn't sandals. It was a koozie, a big, thick koozie, not the thin koozies. I used the thin koozies for fuel tank padding.
Mm.
Koozie. What is koozie?
The thing you slip a beer or Coke in to keep it cold.
Oh, it's called a koozie.
Yeah,
That must be a
Koozie.
South Carolina thing.
That's the name of the company that makes the original, and I still got a couple in our koozie basket that still say koozie on them.
All right,
Now you drink warm beer.
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. That's a good idea. I didn't know it's called a koozie. I had no idea.
I suppose the branding could throw you off because we don't get the same brands. A lot of the products might be the same here, but they brand it differently for New Zealand or Australia. So you
yeah.
talk about something and it's just, if you see the product, sometimes, yeah, I know what that is. I know what they call it here. But it always makes it a bit tricky. But I'm sure it's the same for anybody watching from Europe or England would probably find it difficult, all the different product names. But yeah, in the past, we got a lot of our modelling gear from England. We got all the diesel engines and the diesel, or the English kits, the Keelcraft kits, and then the other ones, just Veron kits. And they're all English branded ones, and the English models were all generally smaller to suit a diesel engine. But through the 70s, we started to get more American stuff in. We just started to get the SIG kits in the 80s, really. I hadn't seen them here earlier. And I remember getting my SIG Mustang kit and Banshee and things like that later on. And the top flight kits started to come in as well. But before that, it was mainly English, sometimes some Australian kits. We had Aeroflight kits from Australia. But again, they'd be brands that you wouldn't be familiar with. I don't think you'd see anything from America, in America from Australia or England.
So did you get a lot of Merco motors? Did you get a lot of those?
Yeah, the Merco engines. But there was one shop called Model Air in the main drag in Newmarket on one of the main streets that sold Foxes. And they'd bring in all the cheap Foxes, all the plain bearing ones, all the basic engines they thought they could sell generally. And I remember buying Fox motors from them. And then later on, I imported Fox motors into New Zealand myself. I just brought in the control line ones. But a very hard market to sell Fox motors.
On my SIG twister plans, the Walter Umland twister, Merco is one of the engines listed as recommended in the little box at the bottom right of the plans, and it had OS, I think OS 40 and Merco and several other brands that they said would be ideal to use on that plane.
Which Merco motors on the plan?
I don't know. I'd have to go look at the plans and see. So somewhere in the 30s or 40s size.
They made a 29, a 40, and a 35. The 35 was the most popular.
Yeah.
They made a 40 that was quite light. It was the same case as the 35. It was not a powerful motor, but nice and light and reliable.
I can't imagine 35.
Yeah, not a very powerful motor. That's true. I have a Merco 40 here somewhere.
I can't imagine a 35 from that era flying the twister unless you built it really light. Yeah. My twister was forecast to come out something like 38, 42 ounces, 38 ounces, 39, something like that. I think mine came out at 42 and has grown since then a little bit. Oh, let me click on that.
Oh, yeah, that's
a nice looking motor.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the Mercos are pretty nice. They were supposedly the Merco 60 is what the Super Tiger 60 manufacturers copied.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
So the Merco 60 is a good motor.
Maybe I was underrating it because I really don't know enough to rate it at all. So
yeah, I had a Merco 40, but you know what? The first time I saw a Merco, I was out of town, and this guy, I was flying my plane. I think I had a twister, and this guy he showed up and he goes, "Would you mind launching me?" I said, "Sure, no problem." And he had a plane called the Scimitar or Scimitar. It was a twin rudder stunner.
Yeah, I've
So-
pronounced it scimitar. I just assume that's the right pronunciation, but I
and
don't
it's
know.
the profile. And he had this Merco 35 on it, and I didn't know the guy at all. And he started his motor up, and I wasn't going to tell him you need to speed it up, but I thought it started too low of an RPM to do a stunt run, So it's just lopping along, and I'm thinking, okay, he's not going to adjust the motor. I'm like, okay, so he goes out to send the circle, and then I released the plane, and I could not believe that 4.2 brake on that motor. And then I went and bought a Merco 40 thinking it was the same thing, but the Merco 40 doesn't run as good as that Merco 35.
Yeah, my brother ran a Merco 40 on a Olympian, same as this, but his one was the proper control line one. It had the built-in control line car.
Right.
And it was ABC.
That's gorgeous.
They're a nice lightweight motor, but not terribly powerful compared to like an FP40 or something. Would be a lot more power.
Yeah. My experience is exactly that. Not as powerful as other motors, but good motor runs.
What'd you say, Ron?
I said that looked like a plain bearing engine.
They are, yeah. They're a simple plain bearing engine. The 60s are a bull raced engine, but they're quite an old design. And the 60, I think, first came out in the late 1950s or early 60s, and they're very old design. That's why when Charles said the Super Tiger was based on it, it's because it is a very early design.
I like the way the nose collar wraps around the front end.
Yeah, that is nice looking. It looks good.
Yeah.
And there's two Merco 60s. There's a heavy case and a light case. So if you are thinking about a stunt motor, you want to get the light case.
Yeah,
Heavy
there's a
case
huge
is
difference.
immensely heavy.
Yeah, it's got the lightweight case is sort of nicely contoured round, whereas the heavy one, I think they went to reinforce it for RC use, so people could smack them into a concrete slab or something, and they overbuilt it. They really went over the top. It gained about 3 or 4 ounces or something silly anyway. A lot of extra weight.
I actually have the heavy case Merco 61s. I didn't know any better, and I bought them. They were inexpensive, and then my roommate at Brodax, he bought a light case one at Brodax, a Merco 60, and I was like, oh wow, that thing is really neat, really light. And he goes, yeah, you don't want to get those heavy case ones. That's all I have as far as Merco 60s. They're all heavy.
Yeah, they had steel fins as well, where it had a solid one-piece liner with the steel fins built into the liner, whereas the light one had aluminium fins sitting on the steel liner, so a lot lighter. But the steel fin one, I think the later ones were more powerful. They gained something besides weight. There was a bit more power there to be more competitive with the newer OS engines that were coming out. And they made a bit more power, but you can't take that weight off them. I think they even had a bigger Venturi. The case was bigger, a larger shaft. Everything got bigger. So
the shaft, the crankcase, the thread on it was not quarter or 28. It was something else.
5/16 24.
Yeah, 5/16 24. You had to remount all your props. I mean, it was. I didn't like that idea at all.
Yeah. Another early motor that's quite light. I'd like to try it. I've got one, but I haven't tried it. It's an OS 58. They're a very lightweight motor too. I've got one.
The what?
OS 58. I'll just grab it.
Like OSLA, like an OSLA Max 58.
OS 58. It's a very early engine. It's very lightweight. It's got a case with the aluminium fins, separate fins, like a Merco. But it's the 58. It's similar to the 40 and the 49, and as far as the design goes. So it's a very lightweight engine.
Wow.
I don't know.
I have a friend who uses those. And he likes them.
Yeah, it's got the offset plug. That's the other distinctive feature. A very small shaft. Everything on it's very small. I don't imagine it would be powerful, but it might be a nice stunt engine on a lightweight model.
Then you have to do a strap-on muffler.
Yeah, some of them have bolt holes in the exhaust. There's 2 bolt holes either side, So the original muffler bolted onto it. It didn't have a strap, but the
That looks like it used to have an exhaust wiper on it.
yeah, that one. Some of them do. I don't think the it's not threaded. I know it might be threaded, but yeah, it's got the 2 bolt holes to mount your muffler there. What did they call it? An Airstream muffler or something? But yeah, they had the exhaust wiper on the early models too.
Yeah, before mufflers.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think depending on the market, if it was going to the American market, it probably just had the wiper. If it was going to the English or Japanese market, it probably had the muffler, and that's why the mufflers are hard to get. But yeah, nice light motor anyway, well made, like a lot of the OSs, but I've got more motors than I can use. The only good thing I've found is just having a good supply of motors. If they do get harder to import here, I've got a ready supply of some motors I can use. And my boys have been tuning through motors as they've outgrown their older models, their 15 size models. I've had a few bigger models and bigger motors that they can use, and I've got a couple of old Enya 35s I can put on those ringmasters that they're building. So I'm quite lucky I'm set up like that. I don't have to go digging around trying to buy new motors.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Brodek have got these neat little mufflers that go on the Enyas. That's what we were going to use on both boys.
Oh, that's cute.
Ringmasters, yeah. It's the Brodek standard bolt-on strap muffler from Brodek.
Okay, very nice. Yeah, I've never seen one. That's pretty cool.
Interesting tongue muffler.
Yeah, they do them for the Super Tiger 60 and 46 now, the ones that don't have the lugs. So there are a lot of Super Tigers around without the exhaust mounting lugs, and they do a strap-on muffler now to go on them. So Brodek have got a good range of mufflers now.
Oh, that is cool. Yes, there are a lot of old motors that don't have mufflers.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Fox 35S. I guess I don't know if there was ever a strap-on that was specifically built for that one, and I don't know if that engine would even do the proper 4-2 brake if it had a muffler on it. It sounds like a Fox when it's running. Kind of.
Yeah.
It's got a growl, a beautifully pleasant growl to it.
Yeah, the only thing I found is they had a whole lot of holes. So this one here's one I've been using, and I blanked off like 4 of the holes and put a pressure tap in it.
Yeah.
And it gave us that little bit more pressure to run on the I can't remember what size Venturi. It might be like a 5mm Venturi, but it didn't have a whole lot of suction. And just putting the pressure tap on, blanking off a few of the holes, it gave it a beautiful run, a really nice run. I'm just waiting on some more prop nuts. So yeah, they've got that funny prop nut, a 7x1mm prop nut. So you lose in your prop nut and you know all about it. You can't get another prop nut easily. Okay.
Huh. I have a Enya 40s, but I don't know what kind of prop nut is on it.
They use the same prop nut on everything from their 29 to their 60. Funny 7x1mm pitch. So you don't want to lose your prop nut. That's where it's good to run a spinner with an Enya so you don't lose that prop nut. I've got a couple of them that both need prop nuts now. But,
interesting. I'll keep that in mind.
I don't like running spinners at contests in case the prop comes loose.
I find normally the spinner catches my prop nut. That's what I like to use the electric start at times. So I normally run a spinner on most models. I've even considered putting them on my combat models just so I can electric start them. Because the old arms, after I've been flicking not just my models but both boys and then my wife's models, my arms is giving out and the elbow's going. And I'm just
imagine that's like, oh man, yeah, that's
what gives out. Yeah.
I don't like flipping one plane. I can't imagine you, Gerald, flipping Max and autos and then your wife's plane and then have one for yourself. Wow, that's a workout.
Yeah. And then sometimes, like, there's one guy that we fly with regularly, and he isn't in the best of health right now. And you're helping him because he can't bend over to start the plane, and you just get tired by the end of it. You're really looking forward to your trip to Wendy's to go and refuel by the end of the flying session. But when I fly at home, it's much easier. But when you're flying with a crowd of people,
Hey guys, I'm starting to get a little tired.
I'm kind of fading too. It was a pretty good Monday night. We had you 3 guys held up the show pretty good. We had great conversation. So
Yep.
But
Yeah, but
we got still 7 people on YouTube taking a look at us, and so we appreciate you guys over there on the tube. I kept up with you the best I could, and so I appreciate it. And don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. And if you're ambitious enough, give us a super chat. We'd appreciate that. And everybody else, thanks, man. I appreciate y'all coming in and entertaining everybody around the world. And so we'll keep up with what Sparky posts about the Nats all week and see what we can find out about the worlds. And I guess last time when it was coming from Australia, they were posting real-time scores, and I'm hoping France will do the same for us, and maybe
that'd be good.
maybe we'll get some video. But anyway, y'all have fun this week and come back and tell us about it. And Andy Mutziger gives us a thumbs up. Thank you, Andy. He's probably been watching us for a while, but one of our watchers from the background, much appreciated watchers from the background. So until Friday, y'all all have a great week with fair winds, tight lines, and we'll see you later.
Good night. Thanks, Rusty.
All right. Take care, Andy.
See you, everybody.